Yo, you're back here on the Gil Connections process. I always say the same thing in every intro, and I get tired of it because I don't like saying the same thing over and over. So I'm gonna change it up here just a little bit. First of all, if this is your first time being here, thank you so much for being here. If this is your 1000th time being here, thank you as well. If you would pause right now, do me a favor, go over whatever podcast you're listening to, whatever app you're using, or YouTube, or wherever you're at. Will you do like the review and rating and stuff like that? That helps kind of amplify the men and women that we have on here, their stories, their journeys, and that would just mean the world to me to help continue to amplify the amazing men and women that we have on the podcast. Now, back to your regular scheduled show. Thanks again for joining us here today. Mike Cunningham, your host, the podcast guy, the Twitter guy, who knows, just the guy. Just give me a call whenever you need anything, right? I'm excited about today because this is kind of not officially a two-parter, but it's more like a two-part series. So today we've got the son, if you will, and next week we're going to get the other side. We're going to get his dad onto the podcast, and we're going to find out how much today's guest really is truthful or not. We'll find out. Super excited to bring you these two individuals, starting with today. Help me welcome from the IMG Academy down in the beautiful Florida, the Assistant Director of Track and Field, the wise, the wonderful Mr. TJ Lawson. TJ, welcome to the show.
Mike, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I love, when we do our pre-interview, one of the, and you know this now, TJ, one of our questions or, statements is about your background. I love your background. I love this little track in the blue. Did you, if I remember correct, did you do that or who did that?
I have to give credit. That was my wife. She came in. I
Yeah.
got this office a couple years ago, and I loved it. It was all proud of it. My wife, her name's Abby. She walked in. She's like, "Man, it's boring in here." And the next week, she was in here with a paint can, and she painted the track lines and put the logo up. And now it's my amazing Zoom background. So
I love it. Do I remember right? Was she a interior decorating major or design or
no, she's
something?
not, but
Oh,
she
okay.
may claim to be.
Okay. Well, her first piece at least is amazing. I do love that a lot. Yeah.
She's the best.
I
Yeah,
do the same thing whenever our guys or gals get new offices. I'm always like, "What? Okay, come on, make it your own." Like even their keep, just make it. You're here every day. Make it your own. Like this shouldn't
for
be some kind
sure.
of sterile environment. So I love that. TJ, man, thanks again for being here. Today, we're going to learn a lot about your journey. We started this podcast over 7 years ago. It's kind of crazy to say that out loud,
Wow.
to uplift and honor coaches around the country and sometimes around the world. And I know there's probably a lot of people have pressed play because they saw your name and IMG Academy, and they're like, what's going on? I've heard some things about this IMG. I want to
Yeah,
learn what's going on the track side. So we'll dig in a little bit of what IMG offers, and why it's the right school for some people. You got a great staff there and a great roster there. So we'll learn more about IMG as well when we get to that point. But to get there, we have to go through the journey, my friend. Well, I see. I get stuck in saying the same things over and over, TJ. I was going to say, assuming you were an athlete. Now I know you well enough that I know you were an athlete. So let's
yeah.
take that off there and let's just say, hey, TJ, where in the world does track and field start for you, my friend?
Yeah. I always tell people I think it started the second I was born. I know that during I want to say it was 1990. So I was born in 1997. I know my mom was attending big time track meets while she was pregnant with me, and the minute I was born into a track family. You mentioned
Mm,
it before, and it's no hidden fact here that I'm a son of a track coach. My dad, Bill Lawson, has been in the track business for coming on 50 years. Was a
mm,
Division I track coach for 40 plus years. So I got to kind of grow up in the sport. For me, it was never something I considered my main sport as an athlete. It was always more of like, this is like my life. My life is track, but I'm really invested into
interesting.
basketball and golf and all these different other sports. But yeah, I was born into it. I was born in Waterloo, Iowa, because my dad at the time was coaching at the University of Northern Iowa. And then around like 2 or 3 years old, I believe, don't really remember that far back, but I believe we shot over to Eugene. I got the opportunity to grow up in Eugene, which I think that's where when I say I was born into track and field, when you're kind of playing around the sand pits of Hayward Field, it's hard to not say I was really born around the sport. My dad always tells me a story how I wish I knew the athlete's name and maybe he can clear it up, but there are some high level long jumpers jumping in Hayward, and I was just a kid. I think probably now that I have a kid myself, I would assume my mom was, being drove nuts by myself and my sister, and we were at the track with my dad for practice, and a long jumper went to land the pit, and I believe it was he came up and his leg was all cut up, He's like, what the heck? And they start digging in the sand pit, and there was one of my metal toy tractors.
No.
And that kind of just a description of like how I grew up. I was just playing in the sand at Hayward Field. It's kind of cool.
Were
Yeah.
were you? That's funny. Better that than we also know cats do some. That's why there are covers for long jump.
Yes.
That's attractive to a lot of kids and animals, etc. Were you? I was blown away. I remember. So if you were born in 97, 2008, I was there in 2008 for the trials. Were you like 11? Did you say you were born in 97? So
Yep.
you
I
were
was at
a
the trials. I remember watching Galen Rupp run at the trials
yeah,
in
yeah.
'08. I remember standing up on that balcony at the
Yep, yep,
I think it was the Bowerman building at that point, the
yep,
older Hayward, and watching that happen. I believe it was on the 4th of July it happened. It was
yep.
just unbelievable. I remember that vividly.
One of the things that blew me away, that was actually the first time I'd ever been to Hayward. When I was coaching, none of my nationals were in Oregon, so I never got to go. So that was my first time. And the way the trials are, it's like a week, 2 days off, and then a week. And I'm there for the whole time for 2.5 weeks or whatnot.
Yep.
And so during the 2 days off, we don't really have anything to do. I had to go to the track for something. I can't remember what, but I'm walking to the track. I'm almost in Hayward, and I hear the announcer, and they're doing like a kids like I hesitate to say a track meet, but like they were doing kids
Yeah.
races, and I hear him say, "This blew my mind." Okay, up next is the 5-year-old 100-meter dash. First of all, I was like, "Wow, they got so many like 5 year. That's crazy." But it's one heat, and the six, maybe it's 10 years old. Whatever. Uh, the first heat of 5-year-olds, and then there was so many 6-year-old heat and seven. So many kids. It blew me away. Were you that kid? Were you doing all
Oh
the
yeah.
Hayward kid races
Yeah,
and
hey,
stuff?
so this is why everyone loves Eugene, Oregon, right? It's just the mecca. They call it TrackTown USA for a reason. It's huge with the community. I mean, it's one of the reasons Hayward is what it is. They roped the community into that area. I know that they had all comers meets. I don't know what day of week, but I know every week they had all comers meets for the community. And
Wow.
we would go. I have home videos and pictures of me running these all comers meets, the 100, the 200. I know there was long jump, and I actually vividly remember too. I know at a certain age group, I want to say maybe it was when you're 10 or 12, they went away from giving participation ribbons to actually like first, second, and third place. And I remember my sister, who's 2 years older than me, there was a point when she was getting the first place ribbons, and mine were purple, and they were the participation all comer ribbons. And I was always so mad 'cause I'd win my heat and I wouldn't get the colored ribbon saying I won, and my sister would always rub it in my face. But I still have those ribbons. Actually, I was going through trophies not that long ago, and I still have them in a box. People thought we were crazy, and my dad would have us run in those all comers meets. We would run the 200, and everyone would be in their shoes. We always ran barefoot on the track. That's all we
Really?
did. So growing up, we only raced barefoot. That was something my dad had us do just from a foot strengthening thing. We felt fast,
Wow.
but kids would look at us like we were crazy. And,
Yeah.
my dad, he's a serious,
It's
intense
crazy.
man. He's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
gotten a lot softer as the years have come. But I mean, he would tell us, get on that track, put your blinders on. I mean, there's videos, Mike. This is crazy. I wish I could, I might have to send it to you. You can cut it into this if you want. There's a video of a kid coming up to me on the track trying to ask me questions. Okay, I'm in lane 4, lane 5 on Hayward Field, about to run a 200 all comers race,
Right, right.
barefoot, about to ask me a question. You see me look at the kid and go, I'm focused. Leave me alone. Because my dad told me, hey, don't talk to him when you're up there. You stay focused. And the video is hilarious.
That's
But yeah, we
awesome.
took, we took those meets serious, man. That was the real deal.
Now, you mentioned, I love how you put this, that you grew up in track and field. You didn't necessarily consider it your number one sport because it was life. It wasn't just sport, it was life.
Yeah.
Did you do other sports in high school?
Yeah, high school, I did basketball. I would say at one point was my main sport. I was really into basketball. I didn't really ever get fully into track, I'd say, until what I would consider, I definitely never ran organized track until my freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't much club track around us, but did cross country a little bit, which was a fun time. That was more just kind of conditioning into basketball season and then into track season. And then I've always been a big golfer. Never played competitively with a high school team, but it's something my dad and I have always done, and we're pretty competitive out there. So,
And for you guys and gals that don't know TJ or haven't seen him in person, what are you like 7'10"? I don't know. You're not quite that tall, but you're
you
tall.
know,
How tall
I
are you?
always tell people that if you pull the tape on me right now, I'd be 6'8". But if it was like a basketball roster, right, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
seven
yeah,
footer. You exaggerate a little bit, like, because I know there's kids even walking around the campus where I work here that claim they're 7 foot. I'm like, you're not
No,
7 foot. I'm
right,
not
right.
7 foot, but no, I'm 6'8". I don't know where my height came from. My mom's
Yeah.
probably five. My mom's probably 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
Dad at one point was 6'4". He's definitely shrunk now. So yeah, I don't know where I got my height. The super long legs, 6'8", just continued to grow through high school
Yeah,
randomly.
were you always the tall guy or did like
No, no. Even in basketball, moving from eighth grade to freshman year of high school, sophomore year, I was more of a forward, like to play from the wing. Was never considered a big man, right? And I know it was kind of a hard point of contention with basketball coaches, like, "Hey, we want you to play in the center. You're the five man." I'm like,
hmm
I can't play with my back to the basket. I want to be on the move and drive into the hole. And no, I think I had my growth spurt. I want to say it was my sophomore year to junior year. I sprouted up like 6 inches, I want to say, in one summer.
Wow.
Caused a bunch of growing pains and injuries. And
Yeah.
I always kind of joke with people that you don't want to be my height. Like the amount of issues I've had with my hips and my
Sure.
knees and traveling on a plane, it's not a fun thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like I've been 6 foot my whole life. The other day I went to the doctor and they measured my height or whatever, and it was 6'1" because I got these big shoes on or whatever. And I literally told Leah, I was like, look, man, don't write down 6'1". Like just put six. I was like, I don't want like it feels like the doctor's gonna get, they're gonna try to diagnose me with their stuff. I'm good at 6 foot. I don't need to be more than
Take
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Now you end up becoming a decathlete, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Did you you're doing other sports, but were you in track? Were you doing a bunch of different events, or did you stick to like maybe the
Yeah.
hurdles or something?
No, I was always just kind of bouncing around.
Hmm.
There was a meet I had. It was my junior year. We were in the playoff season for high school basketball. I remember going to my high school basketball coach um, and saying something along the lines of, "Hey, there's this indoor track meet. I want to do it." It was at Kent State where my dad was working. It was an indoor meet, just kind of an all-comers indoor meet. Went there, and out of nowhere, I think just finally, I guess it was me growing into my body, puberty hit, all of a sudden I just kind of figured some things out. Had a big meet indoors and decent jumps. I think I finally broke that 23-foot barrier in the long jump. I jumped
Hmm.
like 6'10" in the high jump,
Yeah.
ran a decent 200 and like pole vaulted something average, maybe 10, 11 feet.
Hmm.
And at that point, my whole college recruiting thing shifted. I went from like, I'm gonna go play basketball, that's what I want to do, to like, whoa, I have some big schools reaching out to me all of a sudden.
Right.
And that's kind of where my journey of recruiting to college took off.
Yeah, yeah.
But before then, no, man, I just
Huh.
was, I was just kind of doing. Everyone thinks that with a dad that's such a big coach in the sport, I would just be all in on track. But it feels like
Yeah,
when my dad got home from work, the last thing we were all in on was track.
yeah.
It's like we're out there playing golf and doing other things. I mean, I never hurdled a race. I never even went through a hurdle race until the summer going into college. I ran my first hurdle race. I
Wow,
never went
really?
over hurdles until my first decathlon the morning of.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, my first ever decathlon was the summer going into college. So it'd been the
Mm.
summer of 2015 for me. We got to the facility about 5 a.m. In is it Greensboro, North Carolina,
Yeah.
where they used to host the New Balance National
Yep. Yep.
Championships
Yep.
for outdoors. And that was my first decathlon. Never hurdled before. We put some hurdles in the grass, practiced that morning, and
Wow.
went for it.
Wow.
So
I have to
yeah,
assume because you were, fairly athletic, it went okay though, and you're tall. Like it was, it's not like some,
yeah.
freshman 5'2" kid and not athletic. It's like, oh, let's try the hurdle. That's how I started the hurdle. I was like, I was
Yeah.
unathletic and it did not go well. You probably did okay, I would assume.
No, for sure. The hurdles have always been a love-hate for me. I mean,
Yeah, it's all
most
love for
people, when
me.
they start hurdling, it's like, hey, how can I three-step?
Mhm.
My problem has always been, hey, how the heck am I going to fit three steps in between
Right, right.
distance?
That's what I was thinking. It's like you didn't
Um,
struggle for that. Yeah, yeah, right.
no,
Yeah.
I believe the video went a lot like this: is boom,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
There wasn't much technique, but
that actually
no,
gives
that
us
was kind of my path in high school. Just
yeah.
realizing that track's the path for me, and
What
yeah,
I'm always fascinated by these, I'm gonna call them unique relationships, meaning, dad's a coach, you become a track athlete. We've had married couples that were both coaching, like, because you brought it up, like, how do you leave it on the track? You both come home together, like that's always tough. What I'm curious about is, like, I coached for 10 years at a pretty high level. It's how I got to know your dad. Your dad is 1,000 times the coach I am. I struggle with, and I'm gonna say, luckily, my kids are not going probably into the track world. I would struggle sitting in that stands watching them practice or coach at the meet and not say something, especially if it was like not safe or whatever. But I'd be like, man, what are they doing? I don't know if I could do that. What was your relationship with your high school coaches, and how did Dad influence or not influence? How did or
Yeah.
did he coach you separately and then you joined the
You
team on
know,
Saturday?
this is one thing, and now that I work at high school athletics, like where I
Hmm.
work at IMG, which we'll get into, at the root of it, we're a middle school and a high school delivering a product to students here. And now that I work in this scene, I've never had more respect for my dad than I do now.
Hmm.
Because looking back on it, my dad was so hands off in my high school career with
Yeah.
my track coaches, right? He was more hands on in my basketball career than my high school track career. I
Really?
mean, would there be times where there'd be some things going on like, hey, T, I walked over the long jump and that board, right? We'll put it this way, it wasn't a gill board, right? It was it was some rinky dink board. It's
Yeah.
28 degrees, still basically winter in Ohio. He'd be like,
Right.
hey, TJ, you're not jumping. Never ever would my dad cross that line though and go up to a coach and say, hey, TJ's not jumping. He always
Right.
let me be the adult in the situation.
Oh.
He had the utmost respect for my high jump coach to this day. I'm still keep in touch with my high jump coach in high school.
Yeah.
And yeah, he never really interfered. If anything, I think he created an environment for my high school coaches to go to him and they'd
Yeah.
ask his opinion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did they take advantage or was there some
For sure.
egos
Yeah.
involved?
No, it was never a bad thing. He even
Good.
opened up, the indoor facility at Kent State. He let our track team come practice there, what I believe was a pretty discounted rate, if
Yeah.
not nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you
think the
know,
statute of limitations are over on that, so we'll keep going. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good,
yeah,
good.
yeah. No, I mean, it was good though. Like, he made sure there was track time and he paid $15 a head for a kid to come in and get indoor track time, like
Hmm.
stuff that was just it was a good relationship, I would
That's
say.
good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
always it irks me when I see our club coaches and high school coaches and college coaches that are battling each other, and it's like, guys, we have the greatest sport in the world. And at the end of the day, I think every coach would agree with the statement, I'm doing it for the kids. Well, if that's true, then we need to have better communication amongst each other and less bad egos. And so I'm glad to hear because, I just know your dad and, he's larger than life for many reasons. Personally, he's larger than life. I'll tell my Bill Lawson story next week when we're sitting down with him. And I could see, like, I could see both ways actually. Like, if you'd have told me your dad was very involved, I'm like, oh, that's law. I get that. But it seems like very healthy
Yeah.
relationship and a great model for you because you're taking all
You
this in
know,
as a teenager.
it's interesting. I realize it more and more. Like every single day at IMG Academy, I'm working with parents of kids who have aspirations for their kids, which every parent does. The more I'm realizing it, the higher level athlete that parent was, it seems like their expectations are more go with the flow. They understand the
Mm,
bigger picture. Like now that I look at it, right, whether or not I cleared the 2 meter bar or not in high school, it didn't matter. It didn't matter,
hmm.
right? As long
Right,
as I was having a good time and
right.
understanding the process and growing in the sport, I think my dad always had that outlook and vision. To me, it was life or death, right? I knew down there on the hydro runway, I gotta make this bar. But in my dad's head, I think he had the maturity and the overall like vision that hey, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter, right? Whether you pole vault TJ, whether you pole vault 10 feet in high school or 12 feet, it doesn't matter because we know
yeah,
you're gonna pole vault high, right?
right.
And I think that he was always really good at looking towards the future with me in that, and for that reason, he never micromanaged the current.
Yeah, that can be hard. I remember just the other day on Twitter, someone was talking about the freaks that we have sometimes. It's the 1% of the 1%, and I made the comment as like I think they said rarely do we have freaks on our team, and I said yeah, actually full stop right there. It's like they're called freaks for a reason. They're not normal. That's not your normal. 99% of the kids you coach are average at best, but yet we always talk about the 1%. That's all we ever talk about is how do you train to the 1%? How do you help the 1% get to the P4 and all that kind of stuff? It's like, bro, that's one out of 100 of your athletes, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't we focus on the 99 guys? I feel like the 1% are going to be okay in the future as they continue to grow. Anyway, so you had that one indoor meet that like, okay, things are changing a little bit. Maybe it's not basketball, maybe it's track. You said some big name schools were reaching out. TJ, you were going to Kent State with your dad the whole time, right? You didn't seriously think about other schools.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I think deep down I always knew it. I also felt like my dad was if I was going to go somewhere, he's going to have me go to a coach that he trusted, which is why I
Oh,
visited certain
sure.
schools. I mean, I was talking with, with Gaffey over at Arkansas at the time. It's just a school he trusts in.
Hmm.
But still, he knew that, I think he deep down knew that Kent State, there was a little bit of a lack of facilities on the outdoor track
Sure.
side. There was a lack of weather. It's Ohio, right? It
Right.
wasn't down in the warm south. So he's trying to always be on that fence of, you know, would I be better off staying with him under his philosophy or maybe someone with better resources?
Hmm.
Ultimately, I never felt pressed by him, but the schools it came down to for me were it really came down to Arkansas, Indiana, and Kent State were my top three.
Hmm.
Absolutely loved it at Indiana. I think that if my dad was in the picture, I would have been a Hoosier for sure. It was a school that I just absolutely loved. The coaching staff there were great guys, great people. So yeah, but deep down, you're right. I mean, I don't want to say I wasted anyone's time. I really tried to give myself an open mind, but I never, there's no way I was ever gonna, sway away from that. I felt like it
Right.
just things we were doing together worked so well. We were already meshing and it was perfect.
I've had a lot of respect for your dad for a long time. You're giving me even more respect that he like it really did feel like he was like, okay, sure, probably he's coming to concede, but I could see him also. I'll have to ask him this next week. It also feels like he had some like thoughts of like, yeah, is it what's best for TJ though that A, he comes to Kent State because of the things you mentioned, but also like, am I the right is the father-son thing going to continue as it becomes 18, 19, 20? Like that's really
Yeah,
boy,
he
that's
gave me
that's
good.
tough.
He really did give me a good experience. If I remember correctly, too, he stayed out of the recruiting process completely for Kent State. He had the assistant coach come do it in-house. I'm pretty
Really?
sure he went into a movie by himself somewhere so that the coach could talk to me individually, and that was awesome.
No
Like,
way.
and it was easy too for him because I was getting offers, from other schools, so it's easy to justify an offer to that school, and it all really lined up. And I think on paper, it was a great deal for Kent. There was already some financial things in place because he
Right,
worked
right,
there and all
right.
that. So, I mean, for me, financially, it made sense. Also, like I love my family. I was close to home. I love the area, and I would not turn in my time for Kent State at anything. I absolutely loved it there. And our
Again,
track team was great. We had some high level
yeah,
track athletes at
yeah,
Kent. It was a pockety school in that sense. And we always had representation at the NCAA championships and all events. We had sprinters, throwers, jumpers. Our throws program there is historically really, really good.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything, man. I loved it there.
I love that intentionality of your dad too. Like the other coach will recruit you. I'm not even gonna be. I know what he's gonna say, so I don't even need to be here. You need to figure out if you. That's amazing, dude. I love that.
Yeah, it
And
was good.
yeah, Kent State, great track program for a long time. The MAC conference. I coached 2 years at Ball State in that conference. I have a lot of respect for the coaches in that conference, and now Fanger at Kent State doing a great job. So a lot of love, a lot of respect for that. Okay, was I assume it was a given you were going to become a decathlete. That sounds forget a foregone
Yeah,
conclusion.
that right there was innate inside me. I
Hmm.
never wanted to. There's no way I'd ever want to just like run in a straight line, do one event, right? Like I've
You got to
always been
stay
that
busy.
kid that's, yeah, I want to be doing different things. Like
Yeah.
I look at some of the programming I'll write for kids I coach now. Say I have a kid that's a high jumper only. It's just like it looks fun on paper maybe, but I look at it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to do plyos and speed work then jump, plyos, speed work,
Right,
jump. Like
right.
there's a point where there's something in me that I can't sit still. I like being outside. I like, that's just who I am. Like I like doing multiple different things. My wife always claims I'll pick up a random hobby and drop it in 2 weeks. Like that's kind of who I am. I'll kind of be on some random hobby and all of a sudden I'm all in. I ordered the stuff, I'm YouTubing it, and I'm like, I'm on to the next thing. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
always been kind of the guy to, just want to do multiple things. And I
yeah,
think with my body type, we already kind of mentioned that I'm super tall. I was pretty coordinated for how tall I was. A lot of
yeah,
people my height are kind of like, this not the most coordinated
yeah.
people. They're kind of got boats for feet and they kind of just waddling around. For me, I
Hmm.
was always more of a coordinated, taller person. So
Hmm.
decathlon just made sense for me.
Yeah, makes sense.
I also had the vision of knowing how hard it is to make it to the next level, right? That was experience my
Mm,
dad gave me. Like in high school, you jump 2 meters, jump 6'6", and people think you're a freak, but in reality, you're barely scoring at the MAC
right.
championships, jumping 6'6". It's just a different level at the D1 level, and you know that.
Yeah.
And I think there was a reality hit that hey, if I'm not going to be a 7'3" high jumper and a 27-foot long jumper, right now I got to do something to make myself stand out, and that was
Right.
decathlon.
Yeah, that makes sense. As a 18-year-old going to Kent, what are you thinking about majoring in, and what is 18-year-old TJ thinking he's going to become when he grows up?
Yeah, I always told people my dream job was this is funny because I'm not even that far from it right now. My dream job growing up was always I want to work in sports and merge it with technology and do something in sales. That's how I used to think. So I was
Really?
somehow want to, I always sold like, what does that mean? Does that mean I sell scoreboards to football stadiums? I don't really know.
Right.
That's where I wanted to go. So I knew I wanted to do business. at Kent, and I went along, and that's what I was did. I was exploratory my first year, making sure that's what I wanted to do. Ended up
Okay.
majoring. I did a sport admin major,
Huh.
and then I went on to get a business major as well. So I did two majors while at Kent. Um, yeah, now I'm working in it too. I mean, I'm
That's
coaching. I think deep
yeah.
down, I'd always coach in some fashion.
Right.
Lately, where I'm at, we'll get into it, but I'm doing a little bit more of the business side and the sales
Right.
side than I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
that's what I'm
still
saying. When
find
you
my
said that, I was like, yeah, dude, you're doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's really
So that's
cool.
I've said that statement since I was in high school. That's what I wanted to do, and I think I'm getting closer to it every day. And what
Yeah.
I do right now doesn't really feel like work, so I love it.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, you talk about IMG. So how in the world do you go from you were almost an 8,000 point decathlete, which is just amazing. I think we sometimes, first of all, we put these sometimes too big of a title onto these round numbers, right? 10 flat in the 100, 4 flat in the mile, 8,000 in the decathlon. And we sometimes forget, like, 8,000 is actually a random number as well. It just happens to have more zeros in it, right?
Mhm.
But, were you 79 something?
Yeah, 79, 80, I
Dude,
want to say.
oh my God, you were one bar away. Oh my God. Uh, what was it like as you're pushing towards 8,000, you're coming towards graduation, you're not 7,000, which is like, oh man, you had a great career. 7,000, boy, you score 7,000. Trust me, guys, you are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
unbelievable. You actually have like shot of like, oh man, they're like, maybe I should continue going. Is that how you got to
Yeah.
IMG, or how in the world did you make that decision?
Yeah, it wasn't a hard decision for me because a lot of people will say this. I was so untapped with what I scored. I mean, my 7,900 or 7,980 run was there were so many points on the board, you would say. And for me, I had a lot of
Doesn't hold
injuries.
on, hold on. So I've learned to love the decathlon because my mentor, now retired, Fred Dixon, was two-time
Yeah,
Olympic. Good friends with your dad. So I certainly love, and I have gained the what's the word I'd use here? I do think decathletes are better than like when someone applies for a job here. If they were a decathlete, I don't care if they scored 4,000. I'd be like,
yeah,
I bet they could do a lot here. I mean, they're a decathlete.
yeah,
It's a special breed. When you just said when you went 7980, I left a few. Doesn't every decathlete say? I mean, literally,
yeah.
if I were to have,
No,
and
they
I've had
do.
Ashton Eaton on the podcast before, he's an amazing man. Now got into coaching, by the way. I love that. I bet you when I talked to Ashton and say, hey, the first time he scored 9,000, he'd go, yeah, but we left a lot of points on the board. Don't all decathletes
Yeah.
say that?
Well, it is. And that's the idea of, of course you can do. If you ever would have finished a decathlon and said, "Hey, it was perfect," I always tell the kids I coach, "You're never gonna have a perfect decathlon. If you do, that means you're settling, right? It means you no longer should be doing this. You've lost the flame." But
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me, I
yeah.
had a lot of injuries. I just
Ah,
battled my body over and over and
mm,
over again. If I could click my fingers right now and have healthy hips and healthy adductors and knees,
yeah,
and you gave me 10 weeks to train, I think I could be I could be right up there at another level with anyone in the
wow.
world. And I just there was a point out of college I knew I had potential to eventually be a 9,000 point guy. I
Hmm.
really thought I could be there. I
Hmm.
know I could have been there. And then it came throughout I think it was more reality hitting me in the face of holy cow, what does it look like to be a pro track athlete in the States, right?
Yeah,
And that's when it was like, well, basically, people just hang around at their colleges and just keep training at the home facility and hope to God every 4 years it times up and they make a team.
right.
Unfortunately, that's what it is. Unless you're a gold medalist, right?
Yeah,
Unless you're the Ashtons of the world,
yeah.
that's what it's like for most people. And there's not much support from anyone. I mean, USATF needs to probably, rethink a lot of this stuff and how
Yeah.
they're funding people because
And
it is
decathletes
tough.
have it worse. I'll say there's one group that has a little bit worse than decathlete. That's race walkers. We won't bring that up. But decathletes, because you don't, first of all, you're not competing at you're not doing your
No,
marquee event, the decathlon at every meet, like
no.
a 100-meter guy or
So there's
miler
no
is.
there's no
So
pro
tough.
money to win in Diamond League,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yep.
It's really, really hard. And
So tough.
I think America in general is almost shooting themselves in the foot because we're so dang good in the United States, right?
Mm,
We can continue to not fund anything and we do nothing but produce gold medals, right? If all of a sudden
mm,
we are getting smacked in every Olympic Games and we are fifth on the medal count, I would assume, honestly, from the top government down, they say, hey, we should probably
that's
change this.
good
I feel
point.
we could just track and field people are so resilient. They
Yeah,
will go work their butts off and make a penny and be happy,
that's a good
right? And I
point.
don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, Mike. I'm not sure.
Right,
But
right.
for me, it was kind of that point. It's like, well, where do I train? I need to move down south. What do I do? I'll shortly tell the story. I was in the stands. I just got done competing at the Olympic trials in the decathlon in 2021,
Hmm.
which I think was a 2020 trials delayed
Right.
because of COVID. It was a whole thing. My whole senior year was all diced up from COVID. I know that indoor nationals is supposed to be in Albuquerque that year. Um,
That was your senior year.
I was seated second in the meet, and I
Wow.
was by far in the most top peak physical shape I've ever had been. I just got done
Wow.
pre-meeting at I think it's convention center there in Albuquerque. I felt
Yeah.
amazing, and that's when all the news dropped. March Madness canceled, this and that.
Yeah.
And fast forward to the trials. I was sitting in the stands, just got done competing. Honestly, didn't have that good a meet. Kind of bumming it in the stands, heads down. I'm watching the rounds of the 100 go. That's my first time I ever heard of IMG Academy. I was sitting there, and the announcer at Hayward said, "Hey, in lane 8 right there, that's high school senior Jalen Slade running for IMG Academy High School." And me knowing track and field, and just about everyone in the crowd, especially on the male side, I'm thinking, what high school male athlete made it into the man's race,
Right,
right? I
right,
mean, that's
right.
a 100-meter, that's a man's race right
Right,
there.
right, right.
I mean, you don't see high school boys making it
Yeah.
there. And sure enough,
Yeah.
IMG at the time, which I had no affiliation with, they had sent Jalen Slade, who's now a pro athlete for Adidas,
Right.
um, to run at the Olympic trials in high school. And he had that big white uniform, IMG across the chest. I had never heard of it.
Hmm.
I wasn't one to follow things online. I didn't really know much about the high school football scene. So right there
Wow.
in the stands, I get on my phone, I type it in, what's IMG Academy, and boom, I'm getting sold now by the website. I see the pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the Disney World of Sports. I need to
Yeah.
go. And that's kind of how it all trickled into my mind of, hey, I could go down to IMG. I should go train at this place. It looks beautiful.
Hmm.
And long story short, my dad knew some people, gave some calls around, and we came down for, I guess, a visit just to see what the place was like, and I loved it.
Hmm.
So I had to talk with my wife and said, hey, like if I'm gonna try to, really push to become a true decathlete, to me, what should be that 9,000 point range you got to get to. If you ever want to make it big, you got to score 9,000 points.
Right.
And nothing was unreachable in my mind at that point. I thought I could do it. I'm gonna move to Florida. I'm gonna train. I'm
Hmm.
gonna, full on just go all in on it. At that point, my wife was supportive, and well, we actually weren't even married. She was my fiance at the time, and
Oh,
we moved
wow.
down and did the whole thing. And I gave it a good year and a half, 2 year run. And like I said, I think injuries and all that just kind of kept me from ever like fully putting it together,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. I definitely have some regrets there, but track's a hard sport to make it if you're not making it, you
I,
know?
I think injuries are the number one, like beyond coaching, beyond even like um buy-in from the athlete. I think injuries are the number one predictor of like, oh, they'll get as close as possible to whatever their max is supposed to be or not.
Yeah,
And some of that is honestly, I know there's a lot of things you can do, and there's a lot of prehab and sleep and diet and all that kind of stuff. But some of it we forget to chalk up. There's some percentage, and I'm not sure it's 1%, that luck is involved. You step the
yeah,
wrong way, you do the wrong event at the wrong day, the hamstring goes, and it's never the same after. You
yeah,
unluckily get 6'8" instead of 6'6", and now your hips and abductors come.
yeah, for
I mean,
sure,
some of it's just
for
luck, and
sure.
man, that sucks because you got no
Yeah,
control over that.
and especially in decathlon, it's all about staying
Yeah.
healthy. I mean, I I remember warming up the Olympic trial. Maybe it was NCAA championships one year. It was at Eugene. I remember kind of going by with an athlete. I forget who it was. We're all jogging, warming up. Decathletes kind of have this little bond to them, a little
Hmm.
brotherhood. And
Hmm.
we're all talking. We know we're about to go through for 2 days. And
Hmm.
everyone's like, "How you feeling?" It's funny because people, I feel 85%, which is good. You feel 85%, you feel good. And a decathlon, like if you got to 90% feeling good, healthy, you're ready to roll.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
I feel like I never felt healthy.
Hmm.
The healthiest I ever felt was probably in Albuquerque right before that meet was canceled. But yeah, it was a battle, but I'm so thankful for it because I got down to IMG. I did that pro training stint. I
Hmm.
learned a ton. I think I became a better coach from it, better athlete from it. And yeah, and then after that, I kind of just realized what IMG was, and I could maybe get into some youth coaching here. And
Yeah.
before you know it, I was coaching a group of, I want to say I started with like 6 young decathletes. I had a kid in 8th grade that wanted to be a decathlete. I was
Wow.
like, hey, let's do it. And actually, that same kid now he's about to graduate and he's about to go be a decathlete at Duke.
No
So
way. Oh,
yeah,
that's cool. I love that.
yeah,
How do we've had some amazing athletes in the same caliber of you, Joanna Hayes, Dwayne Wright, guys that, it didn't end after. First of all, if you go to college, to me, you're an elite athlete. It's just unbelievable. if you have any opportunity to do it after college, holy cow, you're in a fraternity of no one, to be real frank with you. How do you know, like how do you, like I'm always amazed. I went through this with Fred Dixon actually. So on Friday he worked for Gil and he, took customer calls and all that stuff, and when he retired that weekend on Monday he just didn't, he probably, hopefully he slept in. It's like, how do you, I don't
Yeah.
know how you do that. How do you on Friday have your last workout, whatever you're doing, and then on Monday you decide you're not a decathlete, you're done as an athlete, at that
Yeah.
level anyway, because you're still
I
golfing, so
think
I know you're still an athlete.
for me, I called it at a really good time.
Hmm.
It wasn't like a hard stop. It was just more of a reality check. And I thought, I'm a realistic person. I was able to look in the mirror. It's like, man, I got XYZ surgery. I still don't feel healthy. Didn't
Hmm.
work. Right. By the time this comes around, I have a wife waiting to get married. We want to
Hmm.
start a family. We want to do all these things. Financially, it's just nothing but digging a hole. Right. If you want to do it right, if you want to fly to Europe with a PT with you and a coach, I mean, there's not even a prize pool big enough to cover it.
Right.
There was lack of funding from USATF on the medical side and all this stuff. It was just a hard world to live in for someone like me that was so advantageous to get into the business world too. Right? I wanted to start
Hmm.
my career. And there was a point, I forget when it was, but at IMG, I found myself thinking more about the business side and the coaching side. I was getting more invested in getting the kids I was coaching better than myself. And that's
Right.
when I was able to say, you know what? That's fine. I'm gonna go coach these kids to be the best they can be. I'll
Yeah.
keep doing my thing, but I don't need to go compete. I'm okay with it. I still have track. I realized that the thing I was attached to wasn't competing myself. It was just the sport of track. So
Right.
it really wasn't a transition to me. It's not like I thought about track any less. I'm
Right.
just doing it with other kids now, and
Just
I'm not the
different.
one
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah. You described something there. We learned, now, I don't know, 250, 300 episodes ago. We had Cameron Babb. He's the head coach at Washburn University. He was a decathlete as well. And the way you just described that, it was kind of an aha moment. We kind of both got there at the same time. When you're an athlete is a very selfish pursuit. And that's not negative. Don't think just because I
it.
call you
Yeah,
selfish, but you're always like, how do I eat so that I become a better decathlete? How do I rest? It's all about how do I become a better athlete? When you turn into coaching, it turns more into selflessness. And now when someone tells you a workout or sleeping, or you're like, okay, so how do I process that and now push it out to my athletes? So I love how you were like, it became, I was concerned less about what was my long jump going to be that weekend, and more of like, how are those kids going to do in the long jump over there? So you turn from
yeah,
selfish, again, that's, I know it typically is deemed a negative word there, but like, oh, how do I do better in my activities? And it turned to like, I'm
for
thinking more
sure.
about how do I help them. That's a great example
Well, and
there.
then there was a point, Mike, where I knew I couldn't be as selfish as you need to be a
Yeah,
great athlete
yeah, that's a great
because
point.
I trust me. I understand to be a good athlete, you have to be selfish. You have to make time for yourself. You have to dedicate this. You need to go.
Hmm.
I need this. You have to vouch for yourself, especially in the track world. And there was a point when I was trying to make a paycheck and do that at the same time. And I know there's hundreds of people in the States doing it right now, and I commend them. It's not easy to try to work a full-time corporate job and
Right.
then come out at 5 p.m. and train on the local track. And all the people that are doing it, and there's people every single year and every single Olympic cycle that do it.
Do
And
it.
that's
Yeah.
freaking awesome. And I
Yeah.
think for me, it was just more of it was a reality check and just me being realistic with things and
Yeah.
saying, hey, I could delay my career 2 years and maybe not make it still, but I'm still in the sport that I love. Let me go down
Yeah.
this path and be just as happy.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
good.
what I did, and it worked out.
So when you were
Yeah,
coaching those kids, were you working for IMG or was that separate?
yeah. I was
So that's
working
how
for
you first got
IMG.
into IMG, actually
Yeah,
working
I
at
was
IMG.
working for IMG and I was still training full time too. So
Hmm.
there'd be points in that first group I was sometimes training with the older kids. There's some 18-year-olds here that are pretty high level. One of them's currently at Louisville right now. Just some higher level kids that were able to train around. I basically coach in the mornings, train in the afternoon. And like I said, there was a point when I think that the coaching consumed me to the point where I was like, you know what? I like this. I
Hmm.
never wanted to vocally say out loud, I'm gonna be a coach because I
Hmm.
thought it was just me following in dad's footsteps.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it, man. It was fun. And I remember taking the first group of kids I ever coached to their first decathlon. There was a couple kids their first ever time doing a track meet was a decathlon. What an intro to track.
Yeah.
The one
Welcome.
kid I was talking about, he was in eighth grade. I took him over to a meet on the east coast of Florida, and he's never done a track meet before. I was like, hey, well, your first one's going to be a decathlon. Let's see. It was in November. I mean, who does a decathlon in November in high
Yeah.
school? And we were over there, and I remember watching these kids, and we were talking about like eighth graders, right? doing long jump run throughs. I'm trying to coach them. I'm coming from the world of like we're talking about penultimate steps and mid steps and making sure we're perfect.
Right.
And I'm now just like, holy cow, are they on the right leg and they're hitting the board, right? It was a way down step for me. And it was
Yeah.
really cool. I found myself more nervous coaching these kids than I was my whole career myself.
That's interesting. Did you struggle with that? And what I mean by is, I know your dad has an influence over you from the day you were born. So you hear him, you were at practice and you hear him yelling about penultimate stuff. You hear him yelling about this and that and arm positions. And now you're at a stage where when you first get into coaching, the kids you're coaching, you realize like, oh yeah, they're not there, but that's
Yeah,
kind of all you know. Did you struggle with
for sure.
not the wrong term is dumbing it down. The real term is getting to basics. Like, how do I communicate to this eighth grader? Because it ain't the same as how dad communicated to me as a 22-year-old. Did
For
you struggle
sure.
with that at all, or
I
how did you
did,
handle
yeah.
that?
It was definitely a learning lesson for me. I mean, like if you put someone in front of the ring, say I was helping someone with the discus throw, right? And they're a 65-meter discus thrower, a lot easier to watch and pick out one little thing. But
Mm-hmm.
then to have a group of kids in front of you and you have to teach them how to hold the discus,
Right.
right? It's like I have to go way back in my mind here to figure this out how to
Mm-hmm.
explain it. But yeah, it was a full learning curve. Now I've
Yeah.
gotten really good at taking people from ground up in all 10 events.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like what I kind of pride myself in now. I've had a system of all 10 events in decathlon and how
Yeah.
do I teach someone from ground up? That way, when I call a college coach and be like, hey, I got a
Mm.
kid for you. By the way, all the headaches you don't want to deal with. How do you grip this and do that? What's
Right.
the hurdle? 3 step, 7 step, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Usually at IMG, we'll teach it to them now. So when they get to college, they're ready just to train and be with the college roster.
I can't remember who it was. Someone kind of recently, my memory tells me, that said, I feel like it was one of our women guests, said something to the fact like all coaches should have to coach middle school for at least a year, no matter what. If you want to become a college coach, elite coach, high
Yep,
school, doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, really? Why? And I thought more of like, oh, just to kind of herd the cats. And they were like, no, more just like you have to explain things differently to a sixth grader than you do a 21-year-old. And but you probably need to explain to the 21-year-old just like you did the sixth grader and you've forgotten that point, or you think because they're 21 they're in college you don't have to talk to them. Like, no, you sometimes you got to go basics. A lot of times we got to go
yep.
basics with these
And it's
kids.
something that a lot of high level athletes, high level coaches, they have it in their brain. It's just
Right.
having the cue to say it. I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I've done like a higher level high jump session. Last year, I coached a girl named was Yulia Maslovskaya. She's
Mm.
from Belarus, brought to IMG her junior year. She ended up being, she's now currently, I think, #2 heptathlon in U.S. history at the high school level. The only girl that scored higher than her is Anna Hall.
It's pretty good.
And she jumped last year at her capstone meet for us. She jumped to 181 in the high jump. For high school, that's unreal. I mean, she's
Yeah.
killing it. And amazing girl, amazing athlete, really coachable. I can't tell you how many times we've done a high jump session out there and we got all these cues. Eventually it's like you're too deep in, you got cones on the runway apron, and you got this mark, that mark, and like it goes a full circle moment. All of a sudden, an hour later, I'm like, hey, you know what? You should just stay away from the bar. Like the most basic cue possible, and it works. I'm like, man, we should have just started there. You should just run your curve, like something super basic. It's crazy how much that happens, though. You go into this
Yeah.
whole depth thing of cones and markings and angles and vectors, and
Right.
then you go back to, you know what, when you're running on the curve, just maybe lean away. Maybe let physics do the thing it wants to. But that happens to us a lot as coaches.
100%.
And it's important to have that basic knowledge of, teaching a high jumper from the ground up. And that's something
Yeah.
I've learned at IMG. I kind of have I have a three, I don't want to get into specifics of it, but I have
Mm.
a three lesson breakdown for each decathlon event,
Hmm.
heptathlon event, of
Hmm.
what you should give to someone from ground up,
Hmm.
right? So like discus, everything from the basicness of rolling a discus on the ground and how to grip it, all the way to what does it look like to do a South African do a full, and kind of goes through all the events. And what I have found works the best with youth kids. And it's crazy because I feel like some of this stuff would probably work really good with a professional athlete, right?
Hmm.
Things that you almost got missed when you were getting taught the decathlon. A
Hmm.
lot of decathletes, um, they get taught by 20 different coaches in high school. They go to the high jump coach here, pole vault coach here, hurdles
Right.
here. Their weight coach does this, but that's something we do here at IMG is we teach a kid from the ground up, one coach, one voice.
Hmm.
This is how you do it, and
I mean, it's
it's been
it's
working.
hard to do when you're a coach of a person who does one event or very similar 100, 200, things like that. when you're talking about the same person has to do the high jump, the javelin, the, the long jump, I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
it's almost like, you know what, if you're a combined events coach, you actually need to stay in the basics because you don't have much time to even get to any kind of advanced level. You got to be really good at the basics, which again, I think probably more of our events should be that way, to be real
Yeah.
frankly. How did you, so you're coaching, how did you get deeper in IMG? How do you like start getting into this type of position? How do you get to that business itch that you have?
Yeah. So my first year officially on contract at IMG, like I said, I coached that smaller group of decathletes. Was kind of set out to like, hey, go start a youth multi program. What a dream job at the time. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. I was given some resources to say, hey, like go compile, I don't know, the Avengers of multis in high school. And I'm thinking, I didn't even do a decathlon until college. So this is crazy, but let's do it.
Right. Yeah, they're not
Um,
out there, right?
no, and I found that, it's not like you're going to go online and find a decathlete with
Right.
numbers. It's more so you're looking for the body, you're looking for the right kid.
Right.
We do a thing at IMG summer camp. We do 10 weeks of summer camp, basically. So every week we have rotations of kids from around the world that come to our campus to do
Mhm.
track and field camps. And that first summer, I was kind of just using those camps as kind of like a recruiting tool, I would say, to say who in this camp cohort can actually be a good decathlete.
Right.
And it wouldn't be what you think. It's me grabbing the football during warm-ups and just tossing it to the kids, right? If I
Yeah.
throw a football to you and you drop it, probably not a decathlete. It's just the bottom line. It's the truth, right? Maybe you're not coordinated enough to catch a football.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't be a world-class sprinter. You
Right.
might be able to, but baseline athleticism is needed to be a high-level
Mhm.
decathlete. Even like we play a kickball game at this summer camp. I look for the kid who was just competitive, had that nature to him, wanted to win. He wasn't afraid to pitch the ball, kick it, and be outfield, right? I like the kid that's versatile. Use that model, apply it to a lot of kids. And before you knew it, last year we had a capstone year of my official coaching, I would say, and we won the heptathlon and decathlon title at the national level for high school. So IMG
Wow.
was able to crown the decathlon national champion, heptathlon national champion. That was a big win for us. That was kind of my
Yeah.
goal all along. And now we're to the point where we now have another coach, an assistant multis coach. My dad's on staff with us. Our director, Mark Napier's on staff. We have 4 people on this staff that are
That's
highly
true.
dedicated to the multis, and coaches that have coached high level multis throughout the board. So um, I've been able to have more help in the coaching realm. It means less time on the track for me, more time in the business world. And I've gotten to kind of just venture out on IMG and see what they do from business side of things. And
Mhm.
hopefully for me, the ultimate goal is just to help this track program grow as big as it can grow, whether that means talent level, numbers, events that we host, which I'm sure we'll get into. But
Mhm.
yeah, the jump made sense for me because we have so many people in place now at this academy to help the actual on-site coaching to go,
Right.
and I can focus on the holistic view of this program and how we're going to make IMG just continue doing IMG things.
So tell us more about IMG, and then I think that'll help us get into, so like what does a day-to-day look like for you inside of that? Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. By the way, starting with this guy, when I first learned of IMG, when I
Yeah,
the first I'd always heard of IMG because of football. You know, I did have time to look at the USA Today rankings and all that kind of stuff,
yeah,
so I knew like a little bit of its history in regards to the military academy and things like that. But my first time actually being on campus was for a site visit for 2017 or 18, one of those two, NCAA Division II national championships. That was my first time meeting coach and touring the campus and everything. And I was just like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. And then fast forward, when I had my tour this past fall, it's like, holy crap, this has gone even more. It's crazy. Tell us a little bit about IMG. What is it? There's so many myths and misunderstandings, maybe, and I know you know
yeah.
some of them. Clear those up. Tell us a little bit about IMG
For
Academy.
sure. I mean, back in the day, 1978, started as Bolletary Tennis Academy.
Yeah.
Nick Bolletary was basically the founder of everything here at IMG. And he was a world-renowned tennis coach, and he coached big names in tennis, Andre Agassi, and the Williams sisters were here at one point, Maria Sharapova. All these people were here at our tennis academy, and that's what IMG was originally known for. And I think that Nick, as a creative mind that he said, "Hey, like." This model's working for tennis. This live-in boarding model's working for tennis. Let's try it with a different sport. Let's try it with soccer, golf. Before you know it, IMG starts adding sports, and mid 2000s track and field is added. You got we just added softball, volleyball. We just announced our swimming program. We're building a brand new swimming pool on campus. Wrestling is going, basketball, baseball is a huge program here. We have all these sports at IMG. And when I say have sports, they're all high school teams. We have middle school and high school teams here.
Hmm.
And at its essence, the on-site IMG Academy is a boarding school. We're a youth boarding school,
Okay.
and we have sixth graders all the way through, I like to call them 13th graders, right? The gap year kids. So we have all the way through high school, and we even do the post-grad thing here where kids can have another year to develop with us until they go off to the NCAA, which
Okay.
nowadays with the transfer portal, really valuable product that we offer.
Yeah. Does
Um,
that, sorry, a little bit of
yeah,
tangent here. Looks like they're going to pass that 5 year thing. Does that hurt this 13th year, I think?
I don't think so. The NCAA is it's so crazy right now. You know this, right? At the end of the day, the transfer portal is still going to be there, right? I mean, it's still when you look at a college coach recruiting high school athletes, the last person to get looked at now is a high school athlete.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm a coach at, I'll talk about your own. If I'm a coach at Illinois, I'm not going to go online and try to find the high school sprinter that's run 10:22.
Right.
There's probably 995 guys on the transfer portal right now.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a model. We'll see how it works. I think our whole PG model here has been up and down in general, just because of the way the NCAA has been up and down. For
Yeah.
track and field, it makes sense in technical events a lot of times. You get a kid that's like a really raw athlete and they want to be a pole vaulter. Well,
Mm.
maybe it makes sense to train under us for, the
Right.
9 month period, learn how to plant a pole and swing to the top of it and eventually become a 515 guy. And now
Yeah.
you can get recruited to that Division I university you want to be at. So
Hmm.
the PG model is interesting. It works for us. I'd say we've had really good success with it, and sometimes it doesn't work. It's just that's
Yeah.
the reality of sports.
The combined events are one of the, and there's a few events I was concerned about, and maybe still am, with the
Yeah.
roster limits. The roster limits concern me more for development than transfer portals and things like that, because I don't get too caught up in like transfer portal and things like that because of um, I think we sometimes discount or forget that there are really amazing, awesome coaches at the mid-major level. There are really amazing coaches at D2, junior college, NAIA, D3, etc. So that kid that needs developing can go to Southeast Louisiana, Grand Valley State,
Yep.
Lindsey Wilson, and still run 44, 43. So I don't really worry about that. I do worry about, SEC has a roster limit of 35, and the rest of the Division One has a roster limit of 45. I do worry about my decathletes that typically, because you were spot on, right? There are no, and that's air quotes, decathletes in high school, meaning, very, very few. Most of them are coming out of high school not having done a decathlon. You need
Yeah.
some years of maturation in the decathlon. It's a brand new event. You're learning two, three, four, five new events when you go to college. With our roster limits, I'm not sure how many of our D1s are going to be able to carry that one or two or three or four guys or gals that need that. So I'm concerned about them, hammer, javelin, again, the ones that we do a little bit less in high school.
Yeah.
That I'm concerned about. Don't care about
Well, it
the
depends on the level too, Mike. I mean, it's like if you think about it, with how competitive the decathlon's gotten at the NCAA,
stupid.
break off those guys and girls and put them in their individual events. Like, example, the girl I coached last year jumping 181 in the high jump. Well,
Right,
that was a top high jump open for high school last year, and
right,
she was also a heptathlete, right? The high levels always are going to succeed.
right,
It's
right.
more that mid range. Yeah, I mean, everyone I coach, we always talk about how they need to have their banger events. You need to have an event. If you're a
Mhm.
7,000 point decathlete in high school, that's really good. But you better have that one-off event, either the long jump or the hurdles or the pole vault, where you know you can score on that roster year one. If you can't,
That's a
then you
good
better look in the
point.
mirror and expect something different, right? You can't expect the school to give you money if you can't produce a single point for that coach year one. That's
That's a
how I teach our kids.
That's a good point. Maybe this starts separating multis a little bit, and it's like, okay, you can't be above average in every event. You better be very good at one event as well, because you need to be able to. Yeah, that's a great. I didn't think about that, because I just think about the combined as the total. The 10 or 7
Yeah,
events. That's interesting. Because you're right. Again, I'm not concerned about the 1%. I'm not concerned about the kid who did do the decathlon in high school and scored 7,400. It's like, yeah, you're fine. Colleges will pick you up. The heptathlete that scores, I'm not very good at my scores there, maybe 5,000 in high school. It's like, yeah, yeah, you're fine.
yeah,
You're gonna be fine. I'm concerned about that girl who does the hurdles and high jump really well, was on the relays, but never didn't, that was her event. So she couldn't long jump, and she never shot put it, of course, and never javelin. It's like, man, she could be a 5,000 plus, but what school is gonna take her? Because they only get 5 years now, and they got to score right
Yeah.
off the bats. And you only have 45
And
slots.
that's a fair
That's tough.
point, and that's
Yeah,
you got to find the right person. I
yeah.
mean, college coaches, I don't want to use the word lazy is not the word. It's like there's so many good athletes coming to these coaches
Hmm.
now. You have to find the right coach that's willing to develop someone
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's where
yeah.
the bread and butter is, right? If you find a high school athlete and you know they got that something in them and you're
Hmm.
willing to take the time to develop them,
Hmm.
it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah,
But it's getting
I think
harder
that
to find them.
I think that word time is the important part of that sentence, though.
Yeah,
I've got 45 slots, TJ. I've got now 5 years coming up, and that's it. I, there's no more once this 5 year thing. There's more red shirts. You can do 5 years of competing. So I mean, and
yeah,
I'm kind of concerned, but then I'm also because the very first thing I said was, you know what? There are a lot of D2 coaches that are amazing combined event coaches. There's a lot of NEIA,
yeah.
JUCO, etc. So
I
there
think
is
we'll start
space
to.
for them.
I think we'll start to see these bigger, what is it, Power Four schools now. They'll start to have their known feeder schools, is what I think will happen. You know, kind of like
Like the old
think of like out in
JUCO.
Oregon, like a
Yeah,
Lane Community College is kind of a
yeah,
feeder to Oregon to Eugene.
yeah,
It's like maybe some of these bigger schools will have their known feeder programs, and
yeah,
that'll be where you go. You maybe you go to a Grand Valley, an amazing program, amazing facilities, right?
yeah,
And you use that, and if you get to that next level, maybe that's when you jump to Arkansas. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
it's against what I believe in. I always tell my kids, I've had kids sit in my office before that are thinking about going to college, and they go, "Oh, I'm going to go here and transfer." I go, "No, you're not. You're going to go there. You're going to meet your best friend. You might meet your
yeah,
wife. You're not transferring."
yeah,
I never understood the whole transfer thing. It's not something I ever would want to do. I'm a
yeah,
very loyal person. Like once I get stuck on something, I'm on it. That's who I
yeah,
ride and die for.
yeah.
But with the model, it might become seen as normal to transfer, which is crazy.
I I know the transfer portal, the numbers and all that stuff is always a good big topic, but I'm still, and I haven't seen, I don't get access to transfer, so I don't know the actual numbers. But when I look at rosters, it's still not the majority. To your point, the majority, 50+% go to a school and they stay there, even if track doesn't work out, by the way, after a year or two
Yeah,
injuries, or they stay on as a student. So it's not an epidemic in my point. I know it's frustrating. I've had conversations with mid-major schools that have lost kids up to the Power Four. I don't ever see that happening. The scenario you said, TJ, they don't want to lose those kids because they developed them. They went, from the girls' quarter, they took a 55-second girl and made her a 51, and then she goes to Arkansas. They want to keep that 51. That is never happening. They're not going to go to the junior college mentality of like, hey, I really need to get these kids moved off to 4 years. That ain't never happening, in my opinion. And I don't like to use the word never, and I still never would see that
yeah.
happen.
Well, it's
But
interesting though. It's
we say we
interesting. What's
we
going to
say we
happen?
do it for the kids. If that's what's best for the kid, we should be blessing it. And I know some coaches are, they are about the kids, and they're like, hey man, if now that you're running, like I said, using that female 400-meter runner, if you're now running 51, you need to be at XYZ big university.
Yeah.
I know some coaches are like that, and those are the ones I'm like, God bless you. You are putting word to action, action to word there. You do care about the kid. Like maybe that is better for you. That
Yeah.
amazes me.
But
I
you
don't know that I
know,
could have done that.
with how competitive the NCAA is, though, this is where the devil's advocate in me says, like, you know, all Division One schools end up at the same show. They all end up at the NCAA championships, whether you represent, a school on the West Coast, East Coast,
Hmm.
South, North, doesn't
Hmm.
matter.
Hmm.
You all can get to the same place. So
Hmm.
as long as where you're at, you have a coach that believes in you,
Yeah.
right? You have some sort of facility to train on, and you got some training partners. To me, those are the three things.
Yeah.
You're fine there. You can get to
Yeah.
any level you want.
Great point.
The
That
only time it would come into an issue is when you graduate. Does that current college facility, if you're really that level, if you're the 1%, does that facility have a home for you? Right? There's
yeah,
certain places that are home to pros around here. Maybe you should think about that, right? You
that's a
might need to
good
make a
point.
move then. Because of the way, the Olympic training set up in the States, there's not much of a place to go after college. There's not a set
Hmm.
system.
Hmm.
So, I mean, but you can make it from anywhere in the States, man. At any NCAA level, you can make it.
And again, when you talk about making it, you're talking about 1%. I had not an argument because he didn't respond back, but I like to take people's tweets and then quote them, and then put my own, like I'll take
Yeah,
their exact tweet and I'll just change my wording. He said something like, parents don't follow. What he was really saying, in my opinion, was, hey, parents, don't do all these summer clubs and AAU and all this stuff trying to chase a scholarship because it's so few and far between the amount of scholarships out there. I twisted it a little bit and said, I absolutely think you should be taking scholarship. I was like, first of all, none of you, again, air quotes there, are going to go pro. So don't get saddled with debt. If school, if again, air quotes, small school X is going to offer you a full ride and big school Y is going to offer you 10%, bump that, get the 100%. You're not going pro. Go have a great college career. You still need to choose the right coach, right system so that those 4 or 5 years are not just, death knell because you're, the golden parachute. You can't leave because you have 100% scholarship. You should still enjoy, but that's the thing. Enjoy athletics, enjoy your track career while you're
Yeah.
there and get your degree and move on.
No, and that's what we do at IMG.
Yeah,
We help people
right,
earn and find scholarships. The reason
right,
I use those two, earn means, I mean, just because you come to IMG and walk on campus doesn't mean you become a good athlete here, right? Our whole model and mission statement, vision statement is to help student athletes win their future.
right.
So if a kid comes to
Love
my
that.
office and says, "Hey, I'm a junior this year. I want to run D1 track." Okay. Well, you're gonna have to earn it first off. You gotta go work. You gotta get better. You gotta go to your trainings and you gotta treat your body right. You have to see the nutritionist, see the athletic trainers, all those things. But sometimes there is the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things for scholarships. And a lot of things I bet you every year actually in the States, I would argue thousands of scholarships go unhanded out because someone chose the wrong event path. I think that is by
Mm.
far our biggest thing here. We're
Wait, tell
really
me more
good.
about that. Hold on. I haven't heard this. Tell me more about what you
I
mean there.
I can't. We've had people come to IMG and they say, "Hey, I'm a hurdler. I'm a sprinter." Example, I'll use a real example. Someone in your backyard. Her name is Jordan Coscondi. She's the U20 national champion in the hammer. She currently is at the University of Illinois.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
All-American.
Hmm.
She came to IMG as a sprinter jumper multi.
Yeah.
There was a point looking at her, me, our director, Mark Napier, and mainly our throws coach, Mark Stevens, is like, "Hey, I think Jordan can throw the hammer. Let's try this." Before you know it, in 5 months' time, she completely switches out of the multis, and she was a high-level multi, an
Right.
absolute athlete, right? This is a girl that we all still talk about to this day, just a freak athlete, could jump, run, sprint. Mark teaches her how to just turn the hammer. What is the hammer? How to grip it? How to do
Right.
this? Got her on this movement. Got her a new weight plan. Before you know it, she goes from a pretty solidly recruited athlete to a highly recruited athlete.
Hmm.
Fast forward that summer, she's now the U20 champion, and now she's a
Gotcha.
multiple-time All-American for Illinois.
Right.
And we've had that same thing happen multiple times. We've had quarter milers come in at IMG, and you have to have that conversation like, "Hey, congrats, you ran 48 mid." There's a lot of people running 48 point, right? There's a lot of
Right.
people in high school not afraid to grab a stick on a 4x4 and split 46 high even.
What was that young lady's name?
Jordan Coscondi, that's her.
So Illinois just had a home meet this weekend, and I thought this was
Yep,
so cool. They gave out collector's cards
that's
the
cool.
meet, and so I just got into I was looking through this morning. I was like, wait a minute, I think I remember her. She has her own card, bro. Isn't that cool?
Sure.
That's
Yeah,
so
so she was at
cool.
IMG about 3 years ago. She actually was just on campus not that long ago. I got to see her again. Um,
She loves cotton candy grapes, but which we just bought in our house today. It's my
that
wife and
yeah,
kids love
they're
them.
great.
Not
They're
not
great.
not, not a big fan. So she
No,
said, this
Jordan's
is
an
so
amazing
cool.
girl, and she has an amazing family. And we actually, I was talking about
That's really
that
cool.
first meet I ever went to where I coached kids in the multi. I took that eighth grader first meet ever. Actually, that's where I met Jordan and her family. Is at Ponte Vedra Beach in Florida,
No
over near
way.
Jacksonville area, and she's from Eugene actually, and her dad took her to the meet there to try heptathlon. It's so hard to find high school
Oh
multis,
wow.
and she did the heptathlon there. I remember watching her, and she's just an athlete, man, and
Wow.
that's what I mean. To be a high level thrower, you have to be an athlete. You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
this.
So,
It's
so
a, it's like an NFL lineman. You gotta be crazy
yeah.
athletic to be
So
a thrower.
I get what you're saying now. There's a lot of kids who are missing the boat on what your real event is, and therefore you're not getting a scholarship or as much of a scholarship. I got you.
For
The
sure.
the pretty typical one is the 100-meter kid who really is a 400-meter guy. I hate that because that's kind of the trope. But
Yeah.
I see what you're saying there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're doing
That
the bigger shifts here. We're taking a
yeah.
hurdler who just doesn't, we're teaching him the three phases of the triple jump, right? We're
Uh,
looking at areas that the NCAA could be weak in. We're looking at
mm,
areas where it could actually make an impact. Like I said, we have a kid, you're running
right.
47 mid, 48 mid. That's a good
Yeah.
quarter
There you go.
miler. But if you can be a 780 long jumper, that's a different world now. Now I
Right.
build up your resume, and all of a
So
sudden you're a long
so
jumper sprinter for a coach.
so you're not doing. what I'm going to call the easy one. And nothing's easy, but like when you said that 400-meter guy, I was like, oh, you're moving him up to the 800 because that's what we always do with every quarter miler. We had Jeremy
Yeah.
Warner on the podcast, and I was like, Jeremy, there's always the internet that said you would have been a great. Did you ever even try or think the 800? He was like, hell no. He's like, never. He goes, I did one 800 in a race it was training only. He goes, I would never try to move that up in the pros. So you're not doing, like I said, the obvious ones, 400. You're looking at a kid going, all right, first of all, you're pretty athletic, so maybe we try to teach you this. And you're also looking at, well, if you want to go to the NCAA, well, here we can look at grades that kids are in and when they're scoring and when they're graduating. This might actually be a week event. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's a little bit
Well,
of
I
a
think
different level here now.
yeah, obviously we're making the shifts from 1 to 2, 4 to 8,
Right.
we're making those shifts too all day, every day, but I think sometimes having the vision to take a kid, sit them down and be like, hey, have you ever heard of the triple jump? Have you ever heard
Mm,
of the hammer throw? A lot of people have no clue what the hammer is. And you
right.
saw it when you were down here practicing. We have a really big throws
Amazing.
team here that we have all of them throwing hammer and they're
Yeah.
doing really good. I think we're sitting US number 2 and 3, I believe, in the hammer right
Yeah.
now.
I had to pinch myself because I remember we were on the golf cart and I was like, wait a minute, TJ, this is a high school. Wait a minute. Because you were doing
Yeah,
not only were you doing the hammer, you had a hammer cage, but you had several and I was like, oh yeah, this is what I see every day when I visit Notre Dame and Illinois and Alabama,
yeah.
whatever. And it's like, wait a minute, these are high schoolers. I love that.
Yeah.
We need more
Well,
of that.
also, we're realizing you have a coaching staff. We have a huge coaching staff here. We have 12 plus coaches here on our campus
Mhm.
for track only, and their full-time job is to coach. These aren't like people teaching in the morning coach. These are full-time coaches, similar to how a
Mhm.
college would be set up.
Right.
But you might as well utilize these coaches to coach a technical event, right?
Right.
If you get a kid to come in his senior year and he's a 100-meter runner, that's all he does, 100-meter dash. You can't take a kid that's run 11 flat and been running track for, say he's been running track for 10 years. He's run 11 flat by his senior year. He's not going to come to IMG and run 10-20. That's a misconception. You
Right.
can't just give someone foot speed like that.
Right.
But maybe I put that 11 flat kid, I put an aerobic base on him. I teach him how to hurdle and alternate. All of a sudden, he's a 400 hurdler, right?
Mm,
You can coach that. You can coach step pattern. You can coach lead leg, trail leg.
right.
You can coach someone to teach them how to hurt and what it
Right.
feels like to actually have some pain and push through it. You can
Right.
train them aerobically up. Those are the things I think we're getting creative with here and getting kids in the right area. A lot of times, kids just never want to try it. They don't even know it. What is the triple jump? What is
Yeah.
the steeplechase?
So
Right? Those are things that kids don't do.
I think that's an important distinction because one of the things, in my role in track and field coaches is, helping to increase communication and to, give grace and help other people see grace. Sometimes our college coaches will show lack of grace to our high school coaches and say, hey, in today's coaching education world, right? I can go on YouTube right now. There's level ones everywhere, USTFCA, Altus, etc. There's no excuse not to be able to coach a kid excellently. And I'm like, brother, they're teachers. They teach English from 8 till 3 and then coach for 2 hours and then have a family and passions and charities, et cetera, et cetera. This is a little different. Your guys are coaching, you are college coaches in the sense of, and I know a lot of them are former college coaches, in the sense of they're not teaching, they're thinking, how do we get these kids better? How do we get them to college? What do we need to do differently with the facilities, et cetera? 24, I say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some of them are because I know them, but they are full-time coaches there.
Yeah, yeah, which is a huge advantage for us. I mean, we know that. I commend all the local coaches that are teaching
Oh,
lesson plans and they're coming out and giving their time for we know pretty
right,
much no money, right? I
right,
mean,
right.
yeah, those are the people making the sport go.
I
It's easy to pay someone to do it.
100%,
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
I look more at a college coach. I'm like, brother, from 8 to 5, you supposed to be doing nothing but track and field. You should be making sure you know how to coach every event and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah,
Hey, talk to us. There's a little bit of misinformation or jealousy or whatever about IMGA, and it's a diploma. What do they call them? Diploma factory. They're not real education. But when I was there, this was so
yeah,
funny. This was actually really. I'm gonna tell the story. We pulled up to there was 4 or 5 of the athletes, and you went over and introduced me, which always because an athlete doesn't. They don't care about me, but it's always nice. I appreciate that. And the signing ceremony was the next, for college was the next
yeah. I
week.
remember this.
And you said,
Yeah,
yeah, hey, tell them where you're signing. And you meant because the only thing I care about is like, oh, where are you signing? Like what school? Because I'm automatically gonna think, oh, that coach is there. I know this one, right? And she's so sweet. She goes, oh yeah, in that building over there. And I was like, me and you both looked at like, honey, what school? And what's funny is, if I remember correctly, that was the kid that was signing with Princeton. I just thought that added to it. It's like, oh, you're so smart, and yet you did
Yeah,
not make the connection. I don't care
yeah.
what building, but your
I
kids were
remember this
signing
interaction.
with Princeton and Georgetown. So a diploma mill, that's what the word I was looking for. So this isn't a diploma. Like these kids
No.
are going to school and like real
Oh my
school.
gosh. Yeah, yeah. It's a huge misconception of IMG that we're just sports, sports, sports. And if anyone understands it more than anyone, it's the sports department. We're creating student athletes. All right.
Hmm.
Every one of this staff has seen firsthand that if you're not a student first, you cannot be an athlete. I've had teammates right in front of me cut from the team before and cost us, MAC titles and conference titles because they didn't get their grades together. So no, this place is not a diploma mill, right? That we have every class you could offer. Holistically, even as a track team, we send kids to the Ivy League every single
I'm
year.
so impressed. Yeah.
I can promise you one thing: the Ivy League is not biased because you're from IMG. They do
Yeah,
not discriminate, right? Getting into those schools is no joke. Last year, I want to say we had two kids go to UPenn. We had a Georgetown in
Yeah,
there, Princeton. We've had every Ivy,
it's amazing.
Harvard. And it's not easy to get to those schools, and we have the coursework here to support it. I mean, is every single kid here going to the Ivy League? Heck no.
Right.
But we have the classes here, the setup here, the advisors here. I think the one reason people think that we don't have this crazy academic rigor is because of the time frame. But we do cut out some of the fluff at IMG, right? Like a lot of our kids aren't required to take a music class per se. Maybe, during that music class time, they're able to be in the training room learning about the body with Johns Hopkins PT, right? Like
Right.
there is some them tailored things to help with the sports side, but no, we have a full school here.
It's
There's no paper classes, right? I've heard people say that.
right.
No, it's a full-on school, Florida regulated.
It's
It's a great institution, really good teacher to student ratio. It's great.
it's funny you mentioned the music class. So, I went to the greatest university in the world, Troy State University. My wife went to University of Illinois, and so there's always a battle. Like, we basically had the same kind of major. We're both in communications. My GPA is just 1/10 higher than hers, but she goes, "Well, I was in Big Ten education, whatever, blah, blah, blah." Well, this past week, one of the big time, we just went to the did we go to the championship or Final Four? Final Four for basketball. So everybody's basketball, which, we're a basketball school first and foremost. Anyway, so the whole town's all about basketball. One of the stud basketball players just did his DJ class final at like the student hub or whatever. Like he set up and for
Yeah.
all and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I was like, Amy, so your school has DJ class for their degree. I didn't have that like we were more academic rigorous than Illinois, your Big Ten education. Yeah, it's funny you said that music. I was like, although honestly, if they had a DJ class when I was at Troy, I 100% would have taken that. That
I was gonna
sounds
say you would in that. I know
no,
you
that
would
sounds
have.
kind of awesome. Actually, I was a little jealous. Is what I really. It's all about jealousy. That's all it really
Yeah.
was.
At Kent State, there was a class. It was called the Adam Sandler class. He went to Kent State, and
Is that right?
the whole class you just learn about Adam Sandler. And I never took it. This is just kind of, hearsay, but I do know at the end of it, I believe he hopped on a Zoom call with the students and talked with them. It was a whole thing. So I
That's
think all these colleges have like these niche classes.
Hey, Troy University, you need a Mike Cunningham class. I will
Yeah.
zoom in at the
Yeah. He'll do a live podcast at the end.
they'll come back and say, Mike, we have to have more than one person a semester sign up for that class. It's not academically viable for us. So you got the academics, you have the athletics, you started coaching, now you're in this assistant director role. So what does a day-to-day look like for you? How much of it is
Yeah.
coaching? How much of it is talking to Yahoo sales guys like me? How much of it is trying to set up, as we move to our next topic, the Under Armour championships here? What do you do on a daily basis?
Yeah. I mean, every day I'm driving in, you've been on campus. It's like pulling into Disney World here, man. I
It's
love it.
pretty
You're pulling through
nice.
the palm trees and
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty.
kind of resort style living down here. But I pull
Mhm.
in and go to the track and maybe do some small coaching sessions, check out what's going on. I'm now at the point where I'm more flexible to where I don't have to be working with one specific group. I get to kind of go around to all event groups, which I absolutely love.
Mhm.
You can see what the vaulters are doing. Go check out the hammer practice. Today we had some youth athletes learning what the steeplechase was and how to get
Nice.
over the water barrier. That's a fun one to always go watch. I know all of us coaches are out there trying to watch that today. It's just fun to watch. But
Yeah.
no, I'll check the track out, and then a lot of it is dependent on the year. But like this time of year, I'm really just kind of in prep mode. We have a lot of home events coming up. We'll talk about it. But through the summer, it's a lot of like balancing camp and what that looks like. This whole IMG Academy machine just completely flips a switch come June. Like I
Yeah,
said, we do camps every week,
camps.
which is really a cool thing. I mean, kids can come in for a summer camp, they board on campus, and our whole shift kind of happens in the summer. And then come August, we kind of refresh, and my day becomes, onboarding the students and getting to know the kids and speaking
Right.
with the parents and just making sure our track team's on the right direction.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Before we turn our attention to Under Armour Championships, describe to us. You guys did something. I thought this was so cool. When you talk about culture, this is a culture thing. The I think the day after I had to leave, but maybe the week after, you guys did like this time trial
Yeah.
where in a lot of our schools, like, the reason I want you to describe this because I know there's going to be a coach who hears this and goes, "Wait a minute, we could and should be doing this." Because I just thought about culture here. You were doing some kind of time trial, and like I said, all of our programs out there do time trials. You were utilizing the board, you were utilizing like a walkout, like it was
Oh
an
yeah.
event. It wasn't just a time trial. Tell us a little bit about that and how that
So
goes.
here's a philosophy that I believe in. This time trial is something I brought to IMG.
Oh, nice.
Um, I believe in the preseason training, doing up these events almost like high level meat production. I'm a big believer in this one because it gets kids a little nervous, right? So you can kind of see their true shell come out and see
Oh,
who's a
right.
competitor. Sometimes you put the lights on at night, get the board going, the music, the announcer, kids fold. And honestly, as a coach, I have to figure out who can we trust on a relay, right? Who's not going to fold. But we do this thing. It's very common at the college level. Pretty much all sprint coaches will do it, but there'll be a 45-second test for the
Mm,
men and a 50-second test for the women.
right.
Well, we had to sit down and figure out what do we want to do at the high school level. It doesn't make sense to do a 45-second test. I mean, at that point, you're not really tapping into all the energy systems over 400. So what makes sense? Well, for the boys, we do a 50-second test for boys, and for the girls, we do a 56-second test. So
Mm,
the college men do 45, we do 50. The college women do 50, we do 56.
hmm
And what we do is we hype it up to the point that it's a full event. We have everyone go one at a time under the lights, lane one by themselves. We have hurdles lining the track. We have the board come up with their picture, their hometown. The kids choose their own walkout song. It's a whole thing. And they get out there. And for us as a coach, it kind of gets to show you where the fitness is, right? We all kind of give them a little mini peek, not too much, but enough to get them excited about the year.
Yeah.
And we just try to see who can go around the track. If you make it all 400 meters in 50 seconds, you get to ring the bell, and the whole team kind of rallies around you. If you make it 56 seconds
Wow.
as a girl athlete, you get to ring the bell. And we have a live leaderboard going that you can scan the QR code and watch. We really make it up. We bring in food at the end, but I challenge all high school coaches to start doing this test. If you do,
Yeah.
reach out to me. I have the data on all of it. We have a predictive scale that's really accurate. We have an Excel formula that goes, hey, if you run 390 meters in your
Right.
50 seconds, your predicted current 400 is X, predicted by end of the year is Y, and then maybe a 4-year cycle is Z. And we have a whole predictor chart going. I,
Dude.
I would love more data points to come in. So tell
Yeah,
coaches
yeah,
the
yeah.
way, but
W-
we love it.
So is this all like, so who's doing this? Your throwers are not doing this test. Who's all
The
doing
only
the test?
the only event group that doesn't do it is the throwers.
Okay, so
They do
distance,
our
jumpers.
quadrathlon. We do a quadrathlon similar to this, where we
Uh-huh.
kind of test jump, triple jump,
Yep.
overhead throw, and 30-meter run. But every event group does it. Jumpers, distance. The
Yeah.
only distance people that don't do it for us are the ones that are kind of in their postseason, going to NXR or NXN,
Oh,
these higher
right, because you're
cross
doing this in the
country.
fall. Yeah, yeah, that's a
If
good
they're
point.
in season, we won't tax their system, but
And
everyone
the
else does it.
and the rest of the kids and program adjacent people, they're in the stands
Oh
watching and
yeah.
cheering and
We opened the facility up. You can line lane one. This year we had a staff challenge, so every department, basketball, foot, they all nominated one staff member to run,
no,
and we had golf coaches trying. I mean, they were making it 250 meters. It was hilarious.
no way.
Yeah, and then our jumps coach Quentin Harley popped in and he won it for the coaches,
He
and he ran
better.
like
I was about to say a track guy
109.
better win this thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone was kind of getting pressured who's going to run it.
Dude, yeah, TJ's like, nah, hips. I'm out, guys.
Well,
Um,
it's funny. Our new thing is the newest staff on our team, the newest staff member has to do it. So we got a new younger coach now. He's got to do it next year.
he better start training. Yeah. Uh, Here's what I love about that. You kind of touched on two things culturally. One is about your team and getting people like we've seen, and Kent was really good at this back in the day too. The 4x4 at the end of the meet, and everybody is up, and they're if it's indoor, they're banging on the wall. I mean,
Yep.
it's we always want that. We always want, it's a special story when people talk about, oh, our distance runners were done, so they went over to the shot put and was cheering on our shot putter, and that's a track and field team. So one, you're really pumping that up. Two, you're pumping up. I love this. I did not think about this aspect. One of the things that we don't have in practice that we do have at meets is that adrenaline, right? That
Yep.
stress that comes up, and it's hard to read to do that at practice, right? We tried with, we'll actually shoot the gun at practice and things like
Yeah.
that. This really does. I mean, there's a little bit like, oh crap, my picture's up there. Oh crap, all right, Johnny and Tommy's already gone, and they ran 390. I mean, there's a
Oh
little.
yeah.
It
Oh,
brings that competitive juice.
we strategically choose the order. We know this person will
Sure.
go, but might hype this person up. I mean,
Hmm.
we build it up, and yeah, it's. I mean,
And, and the other
it's
thing I
good.
like, so that's culturally for your team. That's uber important. That's amazing. But you're inviting the other department. So now you
Yeah,
talk about if you're this is what I think hearing that story. I did not know that part. If you are struggling to get volunteers for your home meets, you need that English teacher to come out and run the long jump. You need the math
for
teacher to
sure.
run the timer. I bet if you start doing some form of this event, and maybe not look the exact same, but some form of this event that reaches out to other departments, I think you can build a culture of volunteers to help with your home meets and
Yeah,
just cheering on your kids in math class when that math teacher goes, "Oh man, hey, I saw you run your 56-second test. What meet you got this weekend? Oh man, that's really good." I just think
yeah.
that's
No,
it's
I
hard to
recommend it for
define.
everyone. Steal the idea, do
I
it. It's
love that.
great.
It,
I mean,
it's it's
it's
hard to
amazing.
define culture, but I feel like that just defined it. Like that is part of building positive culture. I love that. It's awesome. Okay, so let's turn our attention at the end of this month. So when you're listening to this, probably another week or two, is the Under Armour. It's the inaugural, the first time the Under Armour National High School Championships. Now I'm going to have two questions, pretty candid, and I probably should have prepped you, but I know you're smart enough and smart enough kid here. You're still a kid because when you
That's
said you were
fine.
11, when you said you were 11 years old in 2008, I was like, bro, I was there working you were some 11-year-old. I probably ran into you. I was like, get out of here, kid. I don't know.
I was probably running at your ankles
You
behind
probably
you.
were. I was like, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Uh, one is, and I am not in, I don't agree with this statement, but here's the number one statement I've heard. Uh, and it was before Under Armour even decided they were going to do high school national championships, by the way. You
Oh
mentioned
yeah.
New Balance earlier, Nike Outdoor
Yeah.
Nationals, Adidas, etc. Do we need all these high school national championships? Now, let me tell you my side of it first, TJ, then I want to get your opinion. I think that's just a bubkiss statement because, first of all, who cares? What I mean by that is if you're a college coach complaining that someone is the Nike All American and the Adidas All American and the New Balance and the Under Armour, what's it matter? It does not change your evaluation of them. It does not change how much scholarship you may or may not give them or what events you put into them. Did the kid have fun? Awesome.
Yeah.
And we talk about our sport. A great aspect of our sport is it gives young people a lot of times an opportunity to see outside of their 100 miles from their school, their hometown. They get to go to Oregon for the first time in their life. They get
Yep.
to go to Florida, etc. They get to go to all these other, they get to meet all these kids from other states. Some that are better, they may have thought they were the best kid. I'm the best kid in Florida. I'm probably the best kid in the nation. And then they run into a kid from North Carolina. It's like, oh crap, that kid was faster than me. Wait a minute.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I say have as many as you want. Because by the way, why do we have NCAA Division One and Division Two and Division Three and NAI and JUCO? No one's complaining
That's
about
that.
those,
It's
rightfully
funny you
so.
say that, Mike. That's usually my first comeback. First off, there has been multiple times where the market took to win D1 was worse than the market took to win D2. Are you really a national champion? That's question one. Question two is, or a point two for me is, do I think it's a bit saturated? You got this, what's next? Are we going to have, the Fruit Loops National Championships and different companies? I don't know what it's going to be, right? Do I wish it was all under one umbrella? I do deep down. Yeah, I
Sure,
wish
that'd
it
be
was one
cool.
thing. But
Right.
here's the issue, right? We don't have a governing body that could ever make it happen. Also, it's really unfair if you think about it. Say you have a random family down in Louisiana, right? Right now, with the geographical location of these national championships. You have Adidas, which is still a little bit of a drive over there. You have Philly hosting New Balance. You have Oregon, which is Hayward Field hosting Nike. Where's the zone for these kids? Not everyone has the financials to travel up to the West Coast. You know it.
Great
Flying in,
point.
flying into Portland, to Eugene,
Great
tolls,
point.
it's not easy. So one, we want to give this region a chance to have a true national caliber experience. That's one. Two, I think, and maybe I'm biased, I think we can produce a better product than any other meat out there. And I know that because we have the knowledge on board to do it.
Okay.
Um,
So that brings up
that's
question number two. And you're spot on. By the way, did not think about the regional because I'm privileged, right? I'm blessed. It is expensive for me to get out to Oregon. Guess what? It's not coming out of my pocket. I
exactly.
work for
This is
Gil.
coming out of the
This is
parents'
coming out of their
pocket.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that actually might be the full period stop right there. That's perfect. I love
Well,
that.
think about it. It's not like you can qualify and then have Shorts Travel give you a call. Hey, here's your travel money.
Right, right,
It's not going to
exactly.
work
Not
like that.
happening, not happening. So the second question then is, and again, so help me figure out why did we settle on this date? Because I've heard like, oh, it's so early and there's state meets, and I
Yeah.
get it, and it may be like, well, that was the only date available, so we're going to do it. How do you? What's the answer there?
So the school, first off, there's about 34 states, roughly, depending on divisions, 34 to 36 different states that are completely done with the state series.
Oh,
Okay,
wait a minute, are
so
you serious?
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I would have
There's
thought like five the way people are talking
no,
about
no,
it.
no, no. A lot of the
Oh,
southern states, Midwest states, completely done, just hanging around waiting for JO season to start. So for those states, really good date. For states like Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Colorado, Mississippi, Louisiana, these schools are done with their state series, is waiting
yeah.
to find a place to compete, and we're the
Did
home
not
for
know
them.
that.
Second, the question is from a business side of things, do you really want us to host a meet on the same weekend as Nike and New Balance? We'd be
Yeah,
stupid
right,
to
right, right,
do
right,
that,
right, right, right,
right? And never would we want to take on a meet that, by the way, we're huge supporters of. I mean, at
right,
IMG, we go to New Balance meet, we go to
right,
Nike, we have a great time there.
right.
This to us is a really good date to bridge the gap between state series competition
Yeah,
and the Nike national meet or New Balance national meet. I'm not trying to put other ones out of business. This is a really good bridge gap meet.
yeah,
And
I
we're
love that.
finding out really quickly that there's a lot of high level athletes that want to come.
Yeah,
We have high kids coming. We have Andrew Jones, the number one high school hurdler in history, coming. We got Melanie Doggett, Nike pro athlete, coming down to race the Under Armour championships. I think that's a cool storyline. We got Cameron Daly, 14-year-old world record holder, coming to run at our facility. She just ran 51:40 something, 51:40 as an eighth grade girl. I mean, come on. It's insane marks. We
that's
have
insane.
U.S. number one hammer thrower, U.S. number one discus, U.S. number one shot putter, and C.J.
Yeah,
Williams. I mean, we got big names coming. So clearly the date works,
yeah,
right? There are kids that are kind of stuck in that middle ground where they're not so high level to where they might not even do their state series. We're finding out there's kids that are so high level now, and I don't love it, but they're not even like interested in their state series anymore. They're
mm,
willing to jump to a different meet because there's now money on the line. There's NIL deals on the line. It seems like people's loyalty to the regional, district, state series
right.
is becoming less and less. That's just kind of the nature of the sport right now. People are
Yeah,
chasing, you know, social media clicks and likes, and
yeah,
they want to get to these
yeah.
big meets. So that's one. And two, there's not going to be a perfect date to make everyone happy, but we
Right,
know
right.
that if we pushed a week later, to me, it just doesn't make sense for someone to do our meet and Nike and New Balance. It doesn't
Right.
make sense, and we don't want to interfere with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense for us. It doesn't make sense for the track community.
It must be because Illinois State meet because we're the official equipment sponsors for the Illinois State meet. It must be a bunch of Illinois coaches going, "Oh, it's too early," because it's like, well,
Yeah,
sorry, it's not for. Here's the good news: there's other opportunities. That's
for
awesome.
sure,
I
for
didn't know
sure.
that many states. That's pretty cool. So,
Yeah,
how
we
did
know
this?
the date feels early, by the way. I'm
Yeah,
aware of that. But
yeah,
for us, for Florida, for Texas, Georgia, all these southern schools, it's like ideal. We're
perfect. Yeah,
excited
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
I love that. I love that. How did this even come about? I can't imagine. It's hard enough to host a regular home meet. How do you
Yeah,
try to put together? You got to be getting phone calls, emails, smoke signals from a parent in Texas 1 minute, and then the next minute somebody from North Carolina, a coach, and then how in the world do you try to handle a home meet
it's
of 30 something states probably?
so I'm the meat director. I'm the head meat director,
Oh
and then
boy, you got nice hair. You haven't lost it yet. No gray hair that I can see.
it's a
Yeah, that's
lot.
amazing.
I've been trying to take my name off of it, but it's fun to work. I've enjoyed it. It's a process. Working with corporate sponsors on top of, the meet is presented title sponsor Under Armour. On top of that, I'm trying to, you got to have someone that's in-house at IMG that understands how our facilities work, how our
Right.
operations work, just the flow of athletes and coaches. We've never done it before. So for full clarity, like we're doing our best here too. I do know we have an amazing team in place. This is not just another home meet for us. We have
Right.
already about 120 workers signed up, ready to work this thing.
Wow.
We're bringing in a staff of 120 people. We're bringing in, around 60 some officials.
Wow.
It's going to be a show. We're bringing in
Dude.
production team. We're bringing in. I want to say that the team we're bringing for production is the same one that they run all production for the Tampa Bay Lightning professional hockey team.
Wow.
We're bringing in the full kit and caboodle for this thing, and I think it's important that people know this is not just another IMG homie. This is Under Armour
Yeah.
Nationals, and we're
Yeah.
putting everything we can into it. We're using our resources, Under Armour's resources. We have other tile sponsors or other partners such as like Therabody,
Yep.
Gatorade,
Hmm.
Rakutan, and Gil over in the throws
Yeah.
area. I mean, we've
Yeah, I was
got
going to ask
fun.
you. So you made a lot of good decisions. I think this is going to be a first class championship in its inaugural year. And then you guys got some crazy. What do I know this is a terrible setup from your host here, by the way. What are you doing in the throws area? It feels like this could be, you might need to keep a clear eye on what's going on over there.
Well, here, I'll give a plug. First off, IMG, I told you earlier, we added swimming, okay, to our academy here. The new swimming complex is on site. It was our old throws field here.
Where the
So
hammer
we had
cage
about
was.
yeah, we had about a 5 month turnaround to take our current throws field, basically redo the whole thing and put it to a different piece of campus ahead of this meet.
Oh
I'm
boy.
happy to say we officially finished it. We're having our ribbon cutting ceremony in 4 days now.
Okay, hold on. Stop right there. I'm sorry. I almost called this the Gil Tangent podcast, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Tell us what this is so cool. Again, these are things that I hope, and you're blessing it. So I love this, that I want our audience to, because our audience is 99% track and field coaches. So you got this new throws facility, which you'll talk about here in a second. I've already interrupted you, but you're not just like, oh, okay, so the first meet or we practice every day, whatever. You're doing like this
Oh
ribbon
yeah.
ceremony event. The middle schoolers, I saw Mark's post and stuff. Where did this idea come from? And this is so cool. I love this celebration of track and
It's
field.
us as a corporation. Sounds very corporate. I'm gonna say it. Everything we do is one of one. That's our whole goal here. So like if most people would just open the facility, we're not gonna do that. We're
Yeah.
gonna have a ribbon cutting. We have the construction team here. We're gonna have some of our ADs out there. We ordered a custom ribbon with our new throws logo we made on it. We got a new IMG Academy
What?
throws logo. And we're just excited to unveil the new facility. Obviously, every single thing out there is Gil. We're
Yeah,
excited
thank
about
you.
that.
Thank you.
We just got my dad's actually out there today putting together those performance indicators, I think it was.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
got all the new indicators and shot put return rails. The Coliseum is shining out my office window right now. It's huge. That thing is massive.
Yeah.
Um, and we're excited, man. It's we're gonna try to do it up. It's called we had this meet last year, it was our inaugural meet last year. It's called the launch party. Okay. And the reason
Oh,
it's called the launch party is because you're launching implements in the air and we bring a
right,
DJ in. So we have a DJ coming.
right.
Okay, it's on Fridays, our launch party. It's under the lights. We have a professional DJ that comes in. This year, it's launch party 2.0, but instead of launching implements, we're launching a new facility. So we're excited about that. The name just worked out.
I I love that. We sometimes, and I get it. We're not track and field is not football, basketball, etc. And I understand when it comes to budgets and things like that amongst our schools and our colleges, where we sit in that respect. However, we have to, as a body, more of our body, our coaches, our parents, our athletes, administrations, etc., have to understand how important track and field is. It's typically the largest roster, so you're affecting more student athletes, more
Yep.
students than anybody else. We're the most inclusive sport. So black, white, brown, tall, short, skinny, not skinny. You can find success in our sport. That doesn't mean you're going to be an Olympian, but you can find success in our sport. So what I loved about that was you make a segment of our sport, the throws here, you're making it important. You're right. If you would have just have the first meet and there you go throw, look at our
Yep.
new cages, they're amazing, all that kind of stuff. That would have been awesome. That's great. But you made an event. You're making those athletes, that facility, all the work. I mean, you know this because you and I did this together. All the facility directors, the contract. There's so many people that
Yep.
go into making this a success. To celebrate that, I think is extremely important. And I would just encourage our coaches when I've seen some amazing. The throws are kind of got it going on. Some amazing, different shot put setups with discus cages. make that a big deal. Make that a launch party. I think that is, I think what you're
Yeah.
doing there is good for our sport, not just IMG in the
Yeah,
facility. I really do.
it's actually something we're trying to do at the academy here. In the month of May, we're hosting a lot of one-off meets. Like example, this Wednesday, so on May 6th, we're hosting a meet here called Flight Night. That's all around the jumping events. Okay, it's just jumping events only. On
Wow.
Friday, we have the launch party. It's only throwing events. Our whole team will be there for the throwing events.
Right.
Right. And it just so happened the word launch party was just perfect. It just
That's
happened to be
perfect. It is perfect. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's something we do to just rally to around the whole sport. Like you said, building the culture.
That's so cool.
We expect our distance runners on the team. When someone goes out there, right, there's nothing worse as an athlete. Say you're a high level hammer thrower, right, and your PR is 70 meters. Okay, we'll make up numbers, and you go out there and you throw 64 meters, right? If you've never watched hammer throw before, 64 meters, 70 meters, it all looks cool. It's amazing. Just seeing that thing fly out the cage
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
amazing. But as a high level athlete going to the next level, I don't need my teammates saying, good throw, if I throw 64. We try to teach all of our kids on our team here, everyone, we need our 5K distance runners to know that Zane Beaver throwing 67 deserves a clap. If he has a bad throw and throws 59, hey, all
Right.
right, man, keep your head up, keep going. I want that knowledge to
Yeah.
be on our team. And same thing, vice versa, right? If we have a kid go watch the steeplechase and we're running the 2K steeple, a lot of people don't know.
Right.
Well, you better know our kids are all trying to break 7 at minimum. And if you don't know that, you gotta go do some research. So we're trying to get our kids involved in the different events, like
That's
jumping
so
events on
cool.
Wednesday, Friday. So yeah, we're launching a new throws facility. It's going to be amazing. It's
Yeah.
all Gil out there. I know you know that. We're excited.
So you mentioned DJ, and so at the throws area for the Under Armour High School Championships, we're doing a DJ, and you have, I think I talked myself into this, which is a
No.
little scary. Uh, I'm going to come in as the MC. I'm actually just kind of like hype man is what I'm going to do. So this throws event for the Under Armour Championships, this ain't going to be just like, oh, the greatest athlete. I mean, there are some amazing athletes, number ones in the country, things like that. It's going to be a great competition. We're going to have a kind of a party out there.
For sure. I think that's what throwers need. I think it's going to be a good environment. Yeah, we have a DJ. Actually, the DJ that's working this event on Friday, this is his pilot run. I
Oh,
don't know if he's
nice.
going to see
Good.
this, but
Good.
we're seeing how he does. So we
Yeah.
might have to make a choice. Hopefully, he's good. But yeah, we're gonna have a DJ out there playing music, keeping the vibes up. We're gonna have you
Love
out
that.
there, which I'm excited about. Mike will be our official, like I said, MC announcer, hype man for the
Mhm.
event. Someone that obviously in yourself, you know the throw so well, and you know how to uplift kids. That's our goal.
Yeah.
Is our North Star of the Under Armour National Championships has always been athlete first. It's all we've been talking about, right? Like we had to make a decision the other day on the meet committee. Hey, do we put a shaded tent here for the spectators? Or do we add
Mm.
it to the throws field for the athletes? We are choosing the athlete first every time. Sorry, spectators. It's going to be great. You can come
Mm.
watch, bring your umbrella. But we're going to bring in the best of the best for the kids, which is like,
Right.
we're not bringing in Mike here to get the spectator. Do we want him to get the spectators involved? Yeah.
Right.
That way the athlete throws farther. We
Right.
just want
Right.
to produce PRs. And
Yeah.
our goal is kids to walk away saying, dang, I had fun at IMG. The
Yeah.
Under Armour National Meet was amazing. And hey, I threw my best. I want to produce good marks. And I
Yeah.
think with the facility we just built out there, obviously the new cages and all that and the environment and Under Armour coming on board and just investing in this thing, it's going to be unreal. We're excited about it.
I told you my goal, I'm tired of turning on ESPN and they show the latest dunk or the grand slam or, and let's be real, I don't watch ESPN, so that's a stupid analogy. When I go on Twitter, Instagram, and I see those kind of things, that's going to be my goal. Because you're right. You hit the nail on the head for the average person. And that's, I'm probably not going to pinpoint to that 1%, that guy who knows everything about hammer. I'm going to pinpoint to that person who threw the shot in high school and is sitting on their couch watching this Under Armour Championships or is there because their cousin is throwing. You're right. A 70-meter hammer throw and a 60-meter hammer throw are both awesome. I used to say we used to host a pole vault event here, and we'd always be getting all the, Toby Stevenson and Derek Miles, those
Yep.
guys jumped here. And I'd be like, guys, the average person has no understanding that 18, 19 foot is it is amazing. If you had someone jumping 15 feet, everybody in the spectator would be like, wow, that's amazing, 15 feet. So that's
Yep.
going to be my goal is I am going to try with the crowd and the coaches and the spectator, everybody that's there, is getting moments on social media. I'm going to get something go viral at this Under Armour Championships. We're going to get a throw that is just out of this world or looks out of this world, and everybody's going to erupt, and someone's going to get a video of that and get it on Instagram, TikTok, whatever all the kids are using. We're going to make this thing viral because the athletes deserve it. The sport deserves it. Those events deserve it. And we're just gonna
for sure.
it is gonna be a party, man. We're gonna have a fun time. We're
For
gonna
sure.
uplift those kids and set some PRs out there.
I think that's one of the things we're trying to do different too, Mike, is we're trying to make sure this is the track and field championships. We're trying to really include the field in this. I mean, to the point where we invested a lot of dollars in running underground fiber from our throws field all the way to our track, which is about
Wow.
a probably 600-meter stretch, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We ran underground internet all the way there just so we could always tap back into the throws field for streaming to the stadium. We want to make sure
Wow.
that they are included
Yeah.
because such a huge part of our sport is the throws. I mean, you got the multis going over there. You got the throwers going over there. We might
Yeah.
have U.S. #1 marks, national records going down. I want to make sure that the stadium over here knows, hey, if
Yeah.
we're at a break on the track, walk on over here and watch
Yeah.
the energy. That's the goal. So
That's so
we're,
cool.
we're excited for it. There's a lot of new right now at IMG. It's a lot of new things going on. We've never hosted a meet this big before. This is our
Right.
first time. And I will say, I think we have the personnel here, the events team, and with Under Armour's help, we're going to have a good event. I feel good
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, again, this whole, and I just, it's bupkis to me, this whole, there's too many championships. I'm proud of New Balance and Nike and Adidas stepping up and hosting these meets. Thank you so much for doing that. They're great events for these kids to see more of the world. And I'm proud of Under Armour for stepping up in what they're doing as well. They didn't have to. They could
No,
have also had that same attitude, by the way, and be like, those guys have already done it.
it's
Under Armour
it's
said, wait a minute,
easy.
this our sport is important. We need to invest into it. I appreciate the investment from
It's
Under Armour.
easy to not get involved, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's Under Armour has stepped up fully in the run game. I mean, on the distance side of things, they are just killing it. I mean, if you look at the last two Boston Marathon champs
Right.
with Sharon, she's won the
Hmm.
Boston Marathon 2 years in a row in the Under Armour. They are just really on the rise in the track and field world right now, and it's really cool to see their leadership team jump on board and say, you know what? Track and field is the most participated sport in America.
That's
Let's fund it.
right. That's
And I
right.
think there's finally people starting to get that grip. And this is all a whole snowball effect to LA 28. And I
Mm,
think that everyone's seen the vision of how big this home turf Olympics is going to be. I'm
yeah.
seeing it at IMG, Under Armour sees it. And we're excited to host a meet on our campus that's a true national caliber. It's going to give opportunity to so many kids that haven't had it before in this area.
That's awesome.
And if anyone is going to say, hey, why too many Under Armour or too many national meets, I think the best thing to say back to them is, hey, if I can give one more kid an opportunity to be seen by a college coach, get
Yeah.
a PR, even if it's not the U.S. #1, one more kid gets a PR, we've done our job, man.
That's
We
it.
provide the facility, the event, the flow, the timing, the weather. We've done all that.
That's right.
And the kid PR, it's worth it. That's what we're trying to do.
Bradenton, Florida, the IMG Academy, May 29th through the 31st, man. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited to be down. It's very inconvenient for me, TJ, because I'm actually
I'm
going from
sure.
Kentucky to your place. I'm going to Austin immediately from Bradenton, going to Austin for a couple days for an 80 show and then coming home. But it's going to be 100% worth it. Can you tell us, give us a little insider knowledge here? Is this the first of many? Are we going to see Under Armour high school championships in 2027, 28, 29?
That's the goal. That's the goal. Obviously, we got pilot year one, but with the commits and our registration so far, it's looking really promising. So
Oh, good.
we should be hoping to have this be a set thing, and yeah, we just gotta kill it year one, but we look really good. Just I didn't expect the talent to blow up this fast, this quick. So
Yeah.
we're doing really good.
Yeah, I thought that was a good sign when I saw some of the kids, the hurdler and the thrower. I was like, oh man, that's a good sign. That tells you, first of all, right there, that there's not too many. By the way, these kids have the opportunity to go to any and all of them, and they realize like I need to get some competitions in here, and
Yeah,
they're signing up. So I love that, and can't wait.
sure.
As a hurdler guy, first and foremost, I want to meet that Texas kid. 'Cause I'm like, dude, you are killing it. That's
He is
unbelievable,
killing it.
unbelievable.
He is killing
TJ,
it.
my friend, the most valuable thing that you can give me is your time, man. I know you're busy. I feel bad when I text you or call you and we talk about things. 'Cause I'm like, dude, you got so many things to do, and I'm one of those bugs in your ear about stuff. So grateful for you and your staff. I know for me, you're my face of it all, but I know how many guys and gals are out there are working and busting their butt. Not only coaches, but the administration. You got amazing support there and amazing people that work there at IMGA. And just so grateful for you spending time with us and sharing your journey with us today.
I appreciate it, Mike. I mean, hey, Gil, Gil's special to me. I was looking back at my camera roll. I was on site with you guys there in 2016 is last time I was there. I remember I was looking through
That's right.
pictures today. Actually, I was like, what day. When did I go and come to Champaign and do that? And
That's right.
I got to see the wall there in your factory with all the old pole vault
Yeah.
poles, the history of the
Yeah.
poles. And
Yeah.
I got to see the blank. I remember getting to see the blank hurdles like that. They hadn't been painted
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
That was really cool. So I want to get back. I want to see. I know you guys have done some expansions. I want to see the place again. So I'm
I was
excited.
about to say it's different from when you there, and literally, I think today they were building the access road. We're building on another, I think another 200,000 square
Awesome.
feet on over there. It's really amazing. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to work with these guys and gals, and it's a lot of fun. Sometimes we have to pinch ourselves, like, man, this stuff is going for little Susie in Florida and Tommy in Washington, and
It's
Joe
cool.
in Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, it's fun to be able to
Mike,
help.
the more I've done with you, the more my eye gets open to. It's like when you buy, when you buy a new car, and then you always see that car on the road.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
It's the same thing with Gil. Like I'm at a random high school in Manatee County. I'm like, oh, they have a Gil pet. I wonder who sold it to him. It's just, I love. It's crazy. Your guys' product is everywhere, and it's really cool
Uh,
for the track community. And but for us, it's the people, man. It's the Fred
yeah,
Dixons. It's you guys.
yeah.
I mean, like Fred Dixon is the one that got. I
Love
know
him.
my dad is so loyal to this company, and it got him to Gilify everything. So
Yeah,
we're
baby.
excited, man.
That's it. That's my mentor right there. TJ, thank you so much, man. Again, really appreciate your time. Thank you guys and gals for being here. I hope this was, I like to, of course, we're gonna 99% of our people are gonna be the traditional coaches out there, but I like showing you different aspects. We've had director of ops on here, we've had facility directors, things like that. I like for you guys to see different aspects of our sport because I think it's important because I think that's part of making this sport as big as it is. He talked about participation rates. You are more likely to, when you're grocery shopping tomorrow, you are more likely to run into someone who did track and field in high school or college than you did that played football or basketball or volleyball. And yet we can't get them to track meets. And that is what we should all be working towards to make our sport for other people to see how great our sport is. And sometimes that's going to take a lot of sacrifice and thinking differently. And I thought TJ brought a lot of great ideas. I know, don't bother him. Give him until, and he's going to be busy with camps, but give him until the summer, but I dare you to email TJ. First of all, he's a great responder, so he'll communicate real well with you. Pick his brain on that 50-second, 56-second test, the launch party. I want to see more of those out there because your kids deserve it, your program deserve it, and you deserve it. Thank you so much for being here, guys, this week. Join us next week. We're going to get the other side of the story. We're going to get Dad, Bill Lawson, someone who literally, I mean, you think he changed TJ's life being his dad. He changed my life with some advice that he gave me back in the day, and I'd be shocked if that story doesn't come up next week. So join us next Monday and we'll bring Bill Lawson to the show. Thanks for being here, guys. Join us next week. We'll do it all over again. See ya.